Hafaday and Biba Bitness. This roundtable hearing conducted by the Committee on Education, Public Safety, and the Arts is called to order at 2:22 Chamorro Standard Time. Notice of the hearing was disseminated to all local media outlets on March 10, 2023, with the second notice provided on March 15, 2023. Notice of the hearing was also made known on the Guam Legislature's website and on the ever-popular Government of Guam Public Notices portal. Today, the committee is holding a roundtable hearing to discuss the concerns of members of parent-teacher organizations from the Guam Department of Education Public Schools, to include parents and students, and their comments, thoughts, and concerns about facilities and maintenance, academics, safety, and also their public comments. Before we begin, I would like to announce that due to overwhelming response from the community, I know it doesn't look like it right now, we will accept any testimony available now and recess, if needed, to reconvene at 4 p.m. to accommodate those who couldn't be here at this time because they're probably still in school or picking up their kids. The committee will continue to accept testimony until this evening. So that being said, I know that my committee members will be joining us shortly. I just want to thank those of you who have showed up at this hour at 2:24 to include Mr. P.J. Flores from UPI Elementary School Parent-Teacher Organization and Mrs. Rebecca Bedare from Juan M. Guerrero PTO. Thank you for coming. And the purpose of this hearing, again, was just really to get you guys in here to hear your concerns. I know everybody always says it's no secret. We know the condition of the schools. But in trying to address these challenges that are facing all the different schools district-wide, we're just looking for those individual stories, because I feel like hearing from, especially the PTOs who do so much on our island to kind of fill the gaps where GDOE falls short. I really would love to hear from you guys, and I'm not sure who came here first. Ladies first, ma'am, Rebecca Bedare. I actually had the pleasure of attending a PTO meeting at Juan M. Guerrero just a few weeks ago. So thank you for coming, and I guess we'll just start. If you want to address your concerns, issues, just tell me your story. And then if any questions, we'll go ahead and ask those afterwards. So good afternoon, ma'am, and again, thank you for being here.
Yes, good afternoon, Senator. Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Okay. So I'm the PTO president at JM Bureau.
If you don't mind, ma'am, can you just move your notebook and then get your mic closer?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay,
really
so
closer.
There? It's good?
Let me hear.
Hello? Yes?
Say Biba Betness.
Biba Betness.
Okay, sounds good. As you were.
Okay. Yes, I am the PTO president, and I'm also a teacher at JM Guerrero Elementary School. So some of the concerns that we have as far as facilities and maintenance at our school are the awnings. And I know it's been ongoing, and they're getting it done as fast as they can. But we do have areas where we have classrooms that can't be utilized because the awnings, you just can't we can't have the kids under the awnings. So we have classrooms that aren't being utilized. We had temporary classrooms that were taken down, taken apart. However, we still have the debris and we have, so we call it our little hills because we have grass. We have grass growing there. And we also have stray dogs that live where the debris are. And we've got about maybe 6 piles of it in the different areas. And of course, our school, we put caution tape so the kids know not to go around that area or those areas. We also have the stray dog problems that live in the school. So I'm not too sure, we haven't had concerns as far as fleas, bites with the students, but we're afraid because we do have a litter, and with a female, I guess the mom, and we're just scared the kids, you know how kids are with puppies. So the puppies are just roaming around the campus, and we don't want it to, attack any of the kids. And then, of course, typical bathroom situation. So our school is, we have quad classrooms. So there's 4 classrooms, and there's 2 restrooms to share with the 4 classrooms. We've had issues where the toilets are not flushing. We just need to replace toilets. We've had it where some teachers would even buy the toilet rings, because they break, and then we'll just replace it on our own, which is not a problem, but it does get tasking having to constantly check it. And then still some ACs are down. And then just overall general maintenance. Bush cutting, our grass is so high right now. I don't know what happened. We had a good contract, I guess, with our previous bush cutters. They were always on time, so I'm not too sure what happened with that. But, just as far as, we have a lot of caution tape all over our school. I don't know if you saw it when you attended our PTO.
I did, ma'am.
Yes, so that's just like our big concern as far as facilities and maintenance. Academics, we're good on that part. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we'll go ahead and I'd like to recognize my colleague over here, Senator Sabina Flores-Perez. Thank you. Good afternoon. I think we'll go ahead and hear from Mr. Flores, and then we'll open it up for questions, if that's okay. All right. And so now we have Mr. P.J. Flores, parent-teacher organization member from UP Elementary School, all the way up in Jigo. Right on. So good afternoon, Mr. Flores.
Good afternoon, Senator. I don't got complaints, just concerns. It was brought up to our attention before our PTO meeting just yesterday that we will be being accredited soon. And so that being said, there are, like she just said, the lawn is up to yay high already. And we were asked to help out like any parent would. If you're asked and you're really for your child and you care about where they go and attend, you would help out, like I will be tomorrow morning. And I just want to ask for the maintenance for the yard. Is help going to be provided by the government to help us? I know money is, maybe it is, maybe it's not an issue, but because the parents will be coming out for some students, right? Not everyone is willing and able to come out. So for the ones that are coming out, will we be receiving help from the government in hopes that maybe the facility will be up to par come accreditation? I picked up my son early from school so we can attend this meeting. So upon that, he told me that some of the faucets in his first grade, I guess, unit are leaking. And I'm not too sure if that's already been brought up to the school.
Sorry to interrupt, but all of your concerns are valid, whether or not they have been brought up before. So please continue.
Yes. Coming from my son, every kid's smart, right, in their own way. Coming from a parent, you're going to say your kid is smart. I'm not going to tell him he's lying, but he's not prone to lying. And at home, whether he's coming home from his grandparents' house, he's not prone to lying, so I know it's leaking. I haven't gone there for myself to see if it's really leaking, but I'll take his word for it.
I think we can take your son's word for it, just
Yeah.
based on what's going on at all of the other schools.
So again, it's not complaints, it's just concerns. I know there's a process to everything, and there's money that needs to be noted down. Where is this money going? Why is it there? Is it needed there? So is there a process for stuff like that to fix? Because what if, he didn't tell me he was getting wet, but what if the kids walk in the restroom, the faucet's leaking to where they're gonna get wet, they wanna wash their hands, but they can't, and then bacteria is also gonna be traveling out the restroom. So just, is there a process where we can expedite not having money like there already because of course paper trail, right? But is there a process where you can send safety down? Go check this out. If it's needed to be replaced right there and then, replace it. We'll take care of the paperwork, the money issue later. If you have the materials, go do it now. As far as the yard, that's all my concerns. If help is going to be provided to us tomorrow, I'm not too sure if it was brought up. But if it is and if it wasn't, I'm asking now as a parent of UP Elementary if help can be provided for such a lawn that is big up there in UP. So.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Did you want to go first? Yeah? Okay, I guess I'll go first. Thank you for your testimony, ma'am. You guys are both complaining about grass cutting at the schools, and it's no secret. That has just been something so simple, right? I mean, I almost feel like it's in our culture to cut grass. I mean, who doesn't cut grass? Who doesn't bush cut, right? And yet something as simple as that continues to be a problem district-wide. And I'm so tired of hearing about grass-cutting vendors. Just my experience, I mean, we've cut grass at a ton of schools from, in Alahan up to Jigo. And I know that there had been a grass-cutting vendor that GDOE had for a few years, and they actually fired that grass-cutting vendor. This is a couple years back, and then what they started doing, according to the GDOE leadership, is they started breaking up the grass-cutting contracts into smaller chunks. And the thinking there was that maybe, Joe Cruz's bush cutter company, it's got 3 employees, just doesn't have the means to bush cut the entire district. And so I know that they had broken it up, so, this vendor is cutting, either these 3 schools or the schools in the north or just this one school. And I've just heard different things. I've heard that it was improved, then I've also heard that it wasn't. And so it's a little difficult for us to figure out what the reality is. Of course, you're bringing the reality here to the People's Hall, but it is frustrating because I'll hear good things about one vendor at one school, then I go to another school that has the same vendor, and I will hear nothing but complaints. And so we participated in a cleanup at George Washington High School, home of the Geckos in Munging Town, Mangilaw, and they told me that they have a grass cutting vendor. It didn't look like they had a grass cutting vendor, right? If you go over to GW, you'll see that the grass is as tall. I mean, I'm like Chamorro tall, right? 5'11" and a half, and over by the football field, the grass is like that tall. And when you talk about cutting grass, I mean, what part of cut all the grass don't these vendors understand? And it's been very challenging when we ask GDOE. They say that they have a problem with the quality control of these contracts. So we'll just start there, specifically on the grass cutting, ma'am. Rebecca, can you just tell us when it started to become a problem at Juan Guerrero?
Yes, so they were coming out regularly, the beginning of the school year, as a matter of fact, before school started, and then maybe, I'd say 3 weeks to a month later, they'd come out again, and it was a constant. And so.
Do you know the name of the vendor, ma'am?
No, I'm not too sure, and I should have got it for you. I apologize, but I can get that to you. But they were always, because our previous grass cutting only was the front and some of the sides and the playground area. And we have a big field with a track, but so the new vendor that was in place and the consistent vendor, they were cutting everything in one shot. They had maybe 6 to 7 guys on, cutting the grass. And then I'd have to say maybe after Christmas, I'm not too sure if it stopped, but yeah, just like our grass is long, and even sometimes it's like we don't allow the kids in some areas because the grass is long. And so, yeah. And can I just bring up something also? I was also working summer school when regarding our little hills, our debris mountains. Guam EPA did come to our school and tell us.
Ma'am, when was this? Guam EPA came to your school. And just to provide a little background, again, sorry to interrupt, but just to assist you in the telling of your story, to provide background for those of you who are tuning into this hearing. I went to Juan Guerrero a few weeks ago to attend the PTO ceremony, and I asked one of the school aides to take me around the campus because I wanted to see for myself what the situation was there. And I was ashamed and embarrassed to be working for this government that allows conditions like this at the schools. Juan Guerrero, you're right, temporary classrooms were destroyed before the pandemic.
I believe it was either before or during the pandemic.
So it was several years ago.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yes, and so basically what happened was these temporary classrooms were bulldozered,
Yes.
right? And then they took all of the debris, to include tin, wood, waste metal, cement
blocks.
chunks,
Yes.
and they piled them
Yes.
in the middle of the schoolyard.
Yes.
And there are several piles.
Yes.
And the school aide told me that vermin was a problem.
Yes.
Right?
Snakes also.
Snakes,
I've had
rats.
snakes in my air conditioning.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
And I did also see the dogs you were talking about, the stray dogs, correct?
Yes.
And so I did ask the school aide if Juan Guerrero had ever made any efforts to contact GDOE Central, the legendary downtown office of GDOE. I was told that they did contact GDOE Central and that they did request GDOE Central. I don't know if they have dump trucks, but they did request, it's going to take dump trucks and a backhoe basically to lift all of these piles
Yes.
and to move them out of that school. And they made this request, from what I understand, several years ago.
Yes.
Right? That is nonsense. Absolute trash.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yes.
And then so Guam EPA, I guess one of their employees happened to drive by and saw it. So this was during the summer, just last summer. I was working summer school, and he did come into the office, the person.
Is it Mr. Glenn St. Nicholas?
No.
Did he have a long beard?
No, it was
Okay.
a younger guy, actually, yeah, Mr. Diego.
Mr. Diego?
Yeah.
Tata
So,
Nalan?
no, I think he's from Tamuning.
Okay.
And so, sorry, I went to school with him. And so he came in and said, had asked, why is the debris still there? And we told him that, they were just already submitted work orders, how our AA has to do it, where she submits it through Munis, and what have you.
I'm sorry, ma'am,
Yes,
just
sir.
for those people listening, can you explain what Munis is?
Oh, that would be the system for GDOE to input any work orders, job requests. Yes.
And also, I'd like to recognize my good colleague, the good Senator Telotaitigui. Good afternoon.
Happening.
No problem. You're actually early. Yeah, you're tomorrow standard time. Viva Mess tomorrow. So the gentleman from Guam EPA had come in and said, requested, why is this still here? You guys put in the work order. When did you put in the work order, the official work order?
I'm not too sure if it was right after the debris, only because, hazardous or.
Right.
So I know they put it in several times, and
Several times.
yeah. So I guess the response from downtown was we're just waiting on a permit to remove the debris. I'm not too sure if that's the procedures, and I'm not an AA there, so that was between the AA and the EPA person. But yes, he said it was hazardous. It shouldn't be there. And it's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's got a mind of its own right now. So.
Several years later. So would you
Yes.
say that the students have gotten used to the big piles of construction waste and debris?
Yes, it's a part of our environment. But, they know not to go near there. Like I said, we have caution tape, especially in the awning areas in the front. So
Right.
when you come in through the front to the main office, you are not allowed to walk through the awning. So if it's raining, you either have to run through the grass to go over a little hill, which might be slippery, or you have to go all the way around in front of the cafeteria, which another awning has caution tape, and go up the steps and go around that way. And so the awning is right where the ADA compliant, the ramp. So that's where the awning is that you're not able to pass for both in front of the office as well as in front of the cafeteria.
Ma'am, again, for the 10th time I attended the PTO meeting at Juan Guerrero, I was shown this awning.
Yes.
Absolutely ridiculous. I was told that students with disabilities
Yes.
have to go through the rain when they get off the bus because they can't go under the awning,
Yes.
right? So the bus will pull up alongside, there's an open area, they get down in the mud and the grass,
Yes.
and if they're wheelchair bound, their wheelchairs get driven through the mud and the grass, when there should be an absolutely fine and properly working awning in place, but the awning is all caution taped off. For how long, ma'am?
Oh, that's years already, sir, since
Years.
our previous admin, who has been gone maybe 5 years?
5
4
years?
Yeah.
So you guys
So
have
it's
gotten,
always-
you've gotten used to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that these high officials in the Guam Department of Education know that we just get used to it, and then they don't do anything. and they're asking to be trusted. We had the acting superintendent of the Guam Department of Education sitting right on this table, looking up here saying, oh, trust us, we're gonna take care of it, trust us. I think I heard that song before.
He must have written it.
Yeah. Why do you think it's so difficult for the Guam Department of Education, the government of Guam, to go to Juan Guerrero and backhoe, pick the stuff up, put it in the dump truck? I mean, to me, it seems like...
I'm not too sure, Senator. I wish I had the answer, but it's just, you know, we always, I guess, being in the government for almost 20 years, it's a typical response when we have the manpower or the money. I guess money is number one, and then if they have the manpower. So we get, like he says, we get used to that type of
Complacency?
Response. Yes.
Right?
Yeah, so we're like, oh, okay, well, they'll get to it, you know, and we hope soon. But it's just gotten to the point where when is enough enough?
Right now, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ever since. Yeah. No, I mean, we're laughing about
Yeah,
this, and
it's
that's
true.
just in our nature, right?
Yes.
We cope with humor,
Yes,
but it's not funny.
it's not anymore.
And when I introduced Bill 29, which I believe is the solution to all of these issues that you're discussing, I was thrown under the bus. You know, we had widespread support for the measure in this legislature. And again, we had people come in and say, oh, it's too hard. Oh, no, we cannot. Oh, just trust us, right? Should we? Should we just trust them?
I think they've proven themselves time and time again.
Thank you for that, ma'am. And I'm going to defer over to Senator, in order of arrival, we'll start with Senator Sabina and then Mr. Flores. If you don't mind sticking around, we'll ask some questions. Yes. Senator Perez.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would like to recognize a GPA consultant, Mr. Bart Cruz, if you don't mind coming to the table. So thank you for being here, and I wanted to, I think it's important to hear the concerns, and not only that, to do something about it. And so I know GDOE has been working with GPA. The GPA has been consulting with them as far as scopes of work, and there is an issue that you bring to light, and I understand that Mr. Cruz can maybe bring some light as far as the canopies. So what were some of the things that you saw with the canopy issue?
Good afternoon, Senators. Thank you very much for having this hearing. A little bit closer.
Can you put the mic a little bit closer? Thank you, sir.
How's that? Okay. Okay, my name is Bart Cruz. I am an engineer at the Guam Power Authority. A little history. It was a vision of our general manager, John Benavente, to provide engineering support for the GDOE facilities and maintenance. I guess he saw a need and saw that we could provide at least what we could provide, engineering services, and we have been doing so for the better part of last year and up to this year. Main goal is to try to help with the CIP ARP projects that we've been afforded funding from the U.S. government for this limited time period, and as well help out in major projects like the new Simon Sanchez High School, soon to be constructed. So that's the main reason why I and my engineers that work with me are here with GDOE to assist. And I guess that's the backstory. And now I forgot what the question was.
So yeah, and there's a lot of issues that have been plaguing our schools for many, many years, and it hasn't been even attended to. And at some point, I feel like it's gotten worse because they're not addressing the issue, and something gets lost, right? The teachers on the ground, the people on the ground are seeing the problems. You report it on Munis, nothing happens, right? And so there's that disconnect. And this is something that I've always advocated for, okay? So what is, like you said, what is the procedure for a parent who has, sees concerns in their schools? And how can it get addressed right away? And so I think one of the issues has been the contractors that GDOE hires, there's no oversight, I feel, right?
It's the pari-pari system.
So,
Thank you for that.
I know this guy, so I'm going to give him a job. Maybe, right? It could be.
And so I think with GPA's involvement, I feel like they're trying to change that paradigm, right? They're here to at least give an outside perspective, expertise on how to move forward now that we have, $100 million to help with these issues. And it's so important to get these issues addressed now that we have the funding, because I think funding was one of the big issues. Now that we have the funding, and now that we have the expertise, let's get it done, right? So Mr. Cruz, if you can maybe, what are some of the assessments? I don't know if you can divulge any of that right now, but as far as you're bringing in your expertise, what have you seen that has been an issue, and how is GDOE now making that change?
Thank you, Senator. Specifically, regarding canopies, I believe that was a topic that we were just discussing. I think early on, before we really went headway into getting SOWs and contracts going for replacement canopies, we went ahead and took a look at the current projects that were underway. I think BMS was one school that was a canopy project was being worked on. So I took my engineers who went there to see how the contractor was doing, and with it we took the engineering drawings that contractors would use to build whatever they're paid to do. And we did catch some issues that contractor wasn't doing per the drawings, and we made note and informed them that they should be doing it correctly. Which brings, I guess, to a question as to who's checking, making sure contractors are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I'm just glad to say that we're there to catch these, and hopefully we're going to be there to continue to do so, is our intent. And we're looking forward to doing that for GDOE.
Sir, could I just ask what type of funny business you discovered when reviewing the engineering drawings from these contractors?
Well, it can be pretty boring. It's like the size of the hole they're digging. It could be whether they welded correctly. It could be as simple as the span of support. It's supposed to be 8 feet and they made it 10 feet. Things like that. And you don't catch those just by looking from a parking lot and observing. You have to go and compare what they do versus engineering drawings, for example, or whatever is mentioned in the statement of work that they have to do. So, things like that.
What kind of problems do those pose when projects are begun in a faulty manner and allowed to be continued and completed when it's all meant to happen?
Well, it can be as simple as, the water that comes off the canopy falling incorrectly into the ground and collecting. If you don't follow engineering drawings that tell you how to handle that, then that could be a problem. You could have rust prematurely occurring because the contractor did not treat the materials properly, for example, or use incorrect materials. Maybe the specification calls out stainless steel for items, but they use like standard steel, which will rust quicker, or ungalvanized material, things like that.
Senator Teitig, we can be conversational and informal, and I don't know if we necessarily have to go in the order, so. Sir, could I ask what knowledge, if any, do you have about Juan Guerrero's canopies and why they would be allowed to fester for 5 years in the condition they're in? Have you seen those?
Yes, me and my team, we did visit all the schools, and as part of our effort to scope out and assess what all the things are needed to be done, we captured it all. And as far as J.M. Guerrero specifically, we did see that. We did notice the pile in the back. And we understood that that was a subject that was being addressed. If I can remember correctly, there was the issue that you can't just pick up debris straight away. We were told, I guess the DOE was told you have to separate them, metals, construction debris, things like that. So that was one thing I was told. But, where do you dump it at? And that's one thing I was told. But yeah, that was there when I looked at it. It was there.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to tag on to that because, you know, maybe there was a lack of oversight when these contractors were doing the demolition work. So was it in the scope, their contract to actually dispose of it? And that's something that, was that something that DOE looked at, the previous contract? And is it too late to hold them accountable for the debris that they left behind?
Unfortunately, I wasn't present during that time that this all occurred, so I can only say what I see at the time I'm looking at it. Maybe there was something in the contract of the demo that they had to do demolition and disposal, but maybe not fulfilled it, and time has lapsed and couldn't hit the vendor back on disposal because it was already closed, for example. I'm not sure. I can't say. But going back to what you, Senator Barnett talked about is complacency. This is my personal comment, not my professional. I see that a lot. Coming from the States where I worked 40 years at Boeing, where we made sure that things were 100% before we fly a satellite. We made sure things were done correctly. And complacency was the destroyer of our kind of business. So I see this as a very common trait here in Guam. I hear it in the radio, like restrooms at parks that aren't kept, restrooms at our government, other government facilities like DRT, not being kept. And I see it here at the public schools. So, you know, not my occupation, but as a professional, as a personal person, I see that as a very prevalent condition here on the island, and that I hope will change.
Mr.
And,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
And
In the short time I've been here in helping DOE, most of the people that I'm working with have just been with me since I started a year ago. So they're seeing probably everything you're seeing and I'm seeing for the first time.
Okay.
So it's almost like we're inheriting the ills of our parents with what we've gotten in our hands, and we're striving to try to fix it and correct it. Sometimes with novel ways to do so is what's required.
Mr. Cruz, I really want to thank you for, I mean, that's coming from your heart. I can hear it just, you know, veering away from your bosses telling you what to say, but, you know, coming out and saying really what you're seeing and what you hear. Are you part of the task force that was put together? Is GPA, we heard that GPA as well as EPA as well as Public Works are in this task force to address the issues at all the schools. Are you part of that task force?
I'm not sure if I'm that's in my business card, that I'm on a task force, but
Well, no,
I know
I
what
mean,
I'm doing. And
Have they called you to the table on discuss on some of the issues in the schools? As an engineer, you know, are you part of that group?
I am, and if I'm not, I'm there to do it.
Okay, so, well, they had a meeting already, so if you weren't at that meeting, the first meeting, then you might want to ask if, you know, you can join, because I think you bring you're shedding a lot of light to the issue and the situation. As an engineer for GPA, people are probably wondering, what's the engineer from GPA doing, you know, at these schools, checking the awnings, and how many other engineers at GPA have been assigned to the schools to look over these projects, or any projects, or to assess?
Speaking about the specific CIP, ARP projects, we
Right.
have as many as 6 engineers that work with me, sometimes as little as 4, depending upon our workload specifically for each individual.
But is there anybody, you know, specifically tasked to just take care of the schools?
That would be That would, I'm sorry, that would be myself and I believe.
Just one person?
And I believe 2, 3 others that are on our section,
Or what?
in our section at GPA.
That are strictly for the schools, to assist the schools? So
Yes.
that's 4 of you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there are 4 engineers from GPA to assist on that. You know, Rebecca, I wanted to just, you know, I hear your, you know, frustration. I mean, we're going to hear a lot of frustration today from parents. And being the PTO, have you followed up? I mean, what have you done? I mean, I have to tell you a story. When I went to Derrida Junior High, that's what it was called back then. It wasn't called Beneventi Middle, you know. I'm revealing my age here, but back in the day, we had, you know, not as bad as it is today, though. I mean, you're hearing these stories, but we had our bathrooms, no toilet paper, you know, we were finding staples in our rice at the cafeteria. Certain things were not, you know, cleaned up. And we brought it to the attention of the principal. They didn't do anything. So we all had a strike. We all walked out of our classes. You know, the 8th grade class, or 9th grade class, it's 9th grade, remember, was it 9th grade at one time, but the 9th grade class walked out of the classes and went straight down, and it brought everybody from the administration to come down to say, what's going on? You know, there's like a riot or, you know, going on. But we got their attention. And I just think, you know, we can do more to get their attention. You know, I'm notorious for following up. You know, I'm like an energized bunny while everyone is like, you know, they're running out of juice to continue to take my calls, but you got to keep on. So have you done anything? I mean, this is serious stuff. These are your children that are put in harm's way 5 days a week. You know, I mean, we're not going to have to wait for somebody to have some major serious injuries to happen. So what has the PTA done? You know, the PTO, well, PTO, right? PTO. What have you done to like really get them to come down to the school and address the issues?
I'm sorry. As I said stated in the beginning with Senator Barnett, I'm new to the PTO. I'm also a teacher there, so we're different. I'm for the PTO right now, not as a teacher. Sometimes I do get it mixed up, but so bringing it up, I have always talking with the principal, and now that I've now the president, and you know, getting more involved, I hope to do more. And just
think about putting up signs and picketing the school and doing something like that. You know, bring the media down there and watch these, you know, the PTO standing and picketing, you know, to get them to do the work. And you said you're also a teacher as well, so you get some inside information. Do you think that the principal should have the authority to shut down the schools because that principal feels that the school is not safe? Do you think? How about you, Mr. Flores? Do you think that should happen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I think so too, and only because it's safety. You got to think about the safety, and like I said, the awning just in the front, and we do have a student in a wheelchair. We've had several, but this one, our student in the wheelchair, you know, he has to go around, and then when they get dropped off, even the parents. So we have to walk across where the mom or the parent parks at the handicap. So the 1218 would have to walk across with his wheelchair and then have to go all the way around to bring him through the other side. And even though it has the caution tape, I can't say I believe that they still run him through that.
Wow.
And yeah.
So if that was done where the principal of that school can actually shut down the school, he or herself, why do you think they don't do that?
because the government will
yeah.
fire them.
No,
Yeah.
well,
For
right.
real.
They will get
So the
reprimanded.
administration will take action
Yes.
against that principle. Now, do you understand why they don't follow up? Why, when they go down to the administration, ask them, we need help, and they wait month after month and even years before they're addressed because they're afraid to lose their job?
But when does it stop following protocol for a kid to get hurt?
Exactly.
What if the awning or the
And-
pipe falls, right?
You know, strike. I'm telling you, get your PTO and your parents, you know, and you put out a strike on it. Something needs to be done because, you know, our good chairman, I mean, it's doing so much to bring this to everyone's attention and see how bad this really is. And, you know, he's gone as far as, you know, putting out a bill that goes beyond normal, you know, ETBT bills, you know, piecemealing. And no, enough is enough, like you said. So I'm hoping, I'm here today listening to the PTO and wanting them to, you know, start, you need magic marker for those signs? I'll help you, you know, but you need to protest about this. And, that, you know, I'm just real frustrated. But now you know why those principals just let it go. They don't want to lose their job. So what do you do about that?
Continue trusting the school system.
Well,
Yeah.
it's failing us.
I detect a
failing
little
our
It's
kids.
sarcasm.
failing us. I'm sorry.
That's sarcasm.
A little bit of sarcasm there, Mr.
Yeah, that
Forsyth.
is
Yeah.
sarcasm, actually.
Could you, if you don't mind, share your story as a PTO member at UPI further? Do you have similar issues with Mrs. Badare with like the roofing and?
So majority of our schools concrete to my eyes, right? I never really walked around the school to see the problems. It's either brought up in PTO or brought up on the side when we do have our PTO gatherings as just a committee or at school. I was just here today to ask for help for the parents that are gonna come out to school tomorrow and ready the school up for accreditation. And if we're gonna be able to get that help, thank you. The school's always been a problem, whether it's facility, maintenance, teachers, principals, the government. It's always been a problem. But if we can fix the little ones first to the big ones, then I think we'd have less complaints and more thank you. Thank you, government. Thank you, senators. Thank you, school system. You know what I mean? And I believe that this room would be filled if school was shut down just for this meeting. And unfortunately, some of us have to make money to support our household. Some of us have to allow our kids to go to school because they're getting smarter each day. And kudos to the teachers to keep the kids coming back and less complaining coming home. So we can only do so much as PTO, but Senator, as far as picketing the fence, like, this is the government we're talking about. The people who say we take care of the people. So if you really stand by that word and stand by that motto, then I really suggest you stop being complacent like we're all hearing and saying, and really take your job to heart. Whether you're old of age, and I'm not saying age is a problem, but if you're old in age and you're gonna make that become a problem to when 13 years ago you were doing your job, you weren't getting complaints, and now you're just, I did enough, but I'm still gonna do this job because I wanna retire, or I have people that count on me, but how can they count on you if you're not being accountable? So.
I have a question with regards to the mayors, because you know these schools are in the villages where the mayors are, and what kind of efforts does the PTO, you know, go to the mayors and ask them, or the mayor, and ask them for their help? Has that been done? Have you done that, or are you, Rebecca?
Does the Jigo mayor send people to cut the grass when you guys do the cleanups?
So that's another part of my question here is like, is there some, like in this event, renewal wasn't met on time, or I'm not sure, the contractor said no because you didn't pay me last year, or whatever the problem was, is there a standard procedure to where GDOE sends a mass email? Mayors, your schools aren't gonna be getting cut. Your grasses will not be cut at your school. We need you guys to assist your schools. Like, is there a procedure where that happens, or is there not? Can we make a procedure to where GDOE doesn't meet the deadline to acquire contractors to provide services for the schools? If not, then maybe we should do that. As far as reaching out to the mayors, I believe they did. As far as a result, I didn't hear any answers given at the PTO. My fault, I was late, but I was there, just late. But yeah, as far as the mayors, I'm more than betting they would help.
I know they did, you know, they would be in contact with the mayors, and as previously stated, I believe, short of manpower. So, because, you know, it seems like all the schools in the northern area have big areas to cut. So they've got maybe 2 or 3 people, you know, if they do come in, and then it's just short of manpower as far, because I know the assistant mayor, he was pretty good at, you know, getting back with us, and, you know, if we need anything, just contact them, but it's just that manpower is the issue.
Did you ever ask, I'm sorry, I gotta go back, there's just so much here. Mr. Cruz, I wanted to ask, so you had talked about the piles of debris and that they need to be separated, but in a normal world, if you're a contractor and you're demolishing temporary classrooms, do you separate as you go?
If you are having a brand new contract, I would put that in the clause that they're responsible for demolition and disposal. That would be the first thing you do when you start a contract. I can't say what happened at J.M. Guerrero, what the situation there was. But if you have a pile of debris just sitting there, that is, you take it as that is. You can't assume that it's just building material. You have to assume the worst case, which is other materials.
Right.
So you have to enter a contract probably to separate and mitigate.
So if it's not in the contract initially at the onset of like the awarding of the project, because I'm just thinking of, you know, SOPs for contractors. When you demolish stuff, you sort as you go, you know, like my mom raised me to clean as I go. So when I clean the house, I clean as I go, and I don't just put everything in a big pile and then go and sort that out. So I'm just asking from a contractor's perspective, is it the standard operating procedure when you demolish, like let's say they demolish the legislature, right? As they break it down, do they then move the concrete to one pile, move the wood to one pile, or is everything just a big mess and we deal with it later?
We permit staging, you know, staging for like a mass pickup, and that's in a contract or permittable in a contract.
Also like to recognize Mr. Phil Toves. He is the Facilities and Maintenance Supervisor, Manager for the Guam Department of Education. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Toves. Right on. I guess maybe we could just ask you about these. I know you're familiar with Juan Guerrero. We just heard from Mrs. Rebecca Badare that we'll start with the awning, right? It's so upset that, and I heard this before, not just here today, that students with disabilities and wheelchair, the rainy season, they're getting rained on. They're being pushed through the mud and the grass because an awning has been sitting there decrepit, dilapidated, circled with caution tape, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, not for 3 years, not for 4 years. Do I hear 5 years? Yes, 5 years. And I know you just came on the job, right? But what is the story with that?
Do I need to introduce myself?
Please, for
Phil
the record.
Toves, Facilities and Maintenance Manager. I'm sorry.
If you could move the mic
Yeah,
closer.
Facilities and Maintenance Manager at DOE. So Juan Guerrero was brought to my attention when I first took over. Miss G, that's one of her things that she was doing. I also got visited by an EPA guy, inspector, that was gonna cite us, and I said, hey, sir, we have a requisition in process, and we've had, but the process took some time. But yes, back to what Bart was saying, when it comes to construction work, if you were to up on a dump truck and run it individually, you're gonna have to sort it out. But there's such things as construction bins, which will take mixed loads, and you can save some time by not having to sort, just pile it up. It's up to the provider to sort it in their yard before they dispose of it. So that's one thing. But yeah, JM Guerrero is something that's been on my list, and we finally arranged. So I'm doing stuff that's out of the box, right? Thinking out of the box. Normal is get a dump truck, but we'd have to go concrete, woods, desktops, you know, that kind of thing. We're doing, and construction debris usually are bins, construction bins are staged for a time period. They give you 10 days before you come and pick it up. We can't do that. So what we want to do is, what I've got planned, and I've got quotes to put in, is have a rolling construction bin that'll roll around with a backhoe and an operator for both. They load as they go. They go off and dispose, come back, continue loading as they go. So we don't make 3, 4 passes around the island in order to accomplish all the different types of debris. So, but that's in the process. I would say maybe another month, we should be able to get the requisition to PO and move it forward. Is that?
Yeah,
Answer
so
your
a month and we'll have new awnings?
Well, the awnings is another thing. So
Okay,
that
so,
was,
so I'm sorry, Mr. Tova, so you're saying, and because I want to write
I
this
was
down.
addressing the construction debris. Sir.
The construction debris, today is Friday, March 17th,
Yeah.
and you're saying in 1 month, that'll be dealt with. What's the process for that? Do you have to hire a new
So we're
contractor?
hiring a driver and a trailer truck driver, and we're renting the mixed load construction bin
Okay,
that'll roll along.
like a hard fill,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's mixed, right? So you can toss
Yeah.
anything in there.
right.
Even books.
So let me get this
Paper.
straight. You're hiring a driver, you're getting a bin, and what else?
A backhoe.
A backhoe.
Backhoe operator.
To clean
Yes.
up the mess.
At 1M and along
Yeah.
with all the other schools.
Right, oh, that's great. But
Mm-hmm.
we're basically going back in and finishing the job that whoever demolished these classrooms
I
didn't do.
can't speak to the work that was done before I got there. It was
Right.
there when I got there. It was there years before I got there.
Have you looked into who was responsible? I mean, we keep hearing the excuses, oh, I just came into office, oh, I've just only been here for a little bit of time, but doesn't anybody ever follow up and find out, well, what really happened, just so that we don't make that same mistake? Can you look into that and find
I
out
can
who
look into
really?
that.
Yeah, please, find out, look at the history on that. And that way, we don't make the same mistake.
Yes.
We just don't want you to look like the previous person. that
Well, I
has
try
it.
not to look like the previous
We
person.
see that.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mr.
And you're
Forrest.
giving us a month, so that's
Yeah.
better than 7 years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just threw in 2 more years.
Yeah, no, it's unacceptable, really. And part of the reason, and I'm not blaming us, right, because I'm a public school parent too, but we just have shown leadership, whether it's the governor, lieutenant governor, GDOE leadership, senators, mayors even, that we're willing to accept these conditions for 5 years and awning, construction. And I wish I had I broke my old phone, but when I went to Juan Guerrero, I took pictures. Where's that feedback coming from? I took pictures, and these debris piles they are 15 to 20 feet high. Right? They're mountains, they're not piles. And it just boggles my mind that it seems so simple, like get the mayor and the backhoe, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or call the contractor to get his ass back over here and finish the job, do the job done right, Yeah, so I commend you for finally, I don't want to congratulate you too early because we're going to check in a month.
Yeah. That's fine.
I wrote it down.
Yeah.
I want to recognize Miss Erica Cruz. Ma'am, I always mix up your titles, so if you could. From the Guam Department of Education, yes. Yeah. Just get it up closer.
Okay, for the next 2 weeks up until next week, Thursday, I'm the acting superintendent.
Oh, man.
However, I am currently the deputy superintendent for educational support and community learning who oversees the 41 schools on island.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
I apologize, the memo said 4 p.m.
It did. So what had happened was we sent out our notice for 2 p.m. And,
Yes, changed to 4.
right, and we didn't change it. What we did was a lot of people wanted to
Recess
come
to
test.
2, yeah.
Yeah, we were supposed to recess because people want to come after school, but obviously these individuals who showed up today are just so
Passionate.
passionate, yeah,
Yes.
to share the information, and we don't want to turn anyone away.
So I apologize
yeah.
that,
No, don't
yeah,
worry
my
about it.
understanding was that
Okay.
it was at 4
No, you're
o'clock.
fine, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm here now.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, Todd.
Right on, appreciate it. So who knows about the awning at
I
Guam?
do. So that was already designed and everything. We submitted it. I submitted a requisition last year. It never made it through the process.
What do you
We've
mean, sir?
So the process of getting any contract work done is submitting a requisition. Procurement does their thing as far as sourcing, getting bidders, quotes, and then from there, the award goes out. So in the many things that they were doing last year, I guess they weren't able to get that through. So anything that didn't make it out 9/30 were canceled and had to be re-inputted this fiscal year. And so we're going through that process right now.
And how's it looking this time?
Well, it's going to go through. We're keeping close tabs on that because that's something that was already designed. It has structural and architectural stamps on it. There's no reason why it shouldn't be able to go out. Funding is there. We're using ARP.
Right.
So
So are you aware of what the issue was before last year? Why it was allowed to
just,
languish?
I'm guessing overwhelmed with the number of purchases. Not only did we get a lot of money out of the ARP, we got a lot of buys. So the activities just were overwhelming our procurement office.
Right.
So they just didn't get around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's hard. You know, we had the other acting superintendent here, Acting Superintendent Wampat. She had made the plea in her testimony. She testified against Bill 29. She made a plea that we trust the Guam Department of Education, and I just think we're past that point with all due respect. I believe that our kids are going to schools in conditions that pose imminent health and safety hazards. Do you agree, sir?
Definitely. Like, would you guys rather take down these awnings, pay $1,000, maybe $2,000 for canopies that can cover this hallway or walkway, available walkway that's being blocked off just for an awning, where a child with disabilities that is prone to a wheelchair go in the grass while it's raining, wheels get stuck, God forbid it doesn't, and then he falls. No manpower is there at that time to support that person. We don't even make sure, well, I'm not sure if government of Guam makes sure that that person, whoever's taking care of that wheelchair child, is able to lift that child should anything happen. So it's what do you call that? I'm asking the government to take down these awnings that are being brought up, put canopies, stake them down, so the whole way the walkway is available and is accessible.
Yeah. Because when we're getting GDOE leadership coming down here to the legislature and saying, trust us.
No.
And I know these same leaderships, no disrespect, of course, but the same leadership must have pulled up to the curb at Juan and Guerrero. It's right in the front. It will literally hit you in the face. It's right in the front. So how many times over the last few years have these high officials, highly paid officials, pulled up right in front of the school and seen this? Probably so many times that they don't see it anymore. We see it though.
Yeah. So I hope it doesn't take a child to get injured. I really hope that these problems that are being now said, or if not now said, being said for the millionth time to a parent that's asking the government, does my child need to get hurt in order for you guys to do something? Like, I'd rather you guys spend a couple of thousand than 50,000 to take care of someone's medical bill, and for that child or person, whoever it may be, if it, hopefully it doesn't happen, that they get disabled for life.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. I want to recognize Senator Joe San Augustine. Good afternoon. Senator Paris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this question's for Acting Superintendent Erica. You're Acting Superintendent, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, that's one of the issues I've seen, as a teacher at Simon Sanchez for almost 10 years. You know, we always put in a wish list at the end of the year, only to find out nothing happens with it. And so one of these chronic issues that I'm seeing is that how can we ensure that the messages from the ground are reaching, you know, central, and that there is a quick response? Do you see any way that we can reorganize the system so that there is a response that is taking place?
And so, you know, we have monthly principal meetings, and we provide information to the school administrators. We do have division heads who provide feedback relative to their division and what is happening with a contract, or you know, with special education or whatever it may be. And we rely heavily on our school administrators to go to their stakeholders to ensure that that information is shared with them, whether it be through a newsletter, through PTO meetings. And obviously, you know, we have a very low turnout of PTO meetings. However, I know schools do have newsletters that they do provide to the parents. But as far as improving communication, I would agree that, yeah, I think everybody needs to improve communication, not just with the Department of Education, but at the government in general. So, as well as maybe private sectors, that, yeah, can we improve communication with our stakeholders? Absolutely.
So in regards to this particular concern about the lack of access for those with disabilities at Juan M. Guerrero, so what can you do now? I mean, what can be done at this time?
So, as Mr. Phil had indicated, that he's contracted to have the I guess, debris from that old construction removed. Putting up a canopy, temporary canopy, you know, we've purchased many canopies, and we've had it stolen over the weekend, and it's just a Band-Aid at this point as far as putting these temporary canopies in our schools. And so we do have ARP funding to replace awnings. We hope that the work is done when students are not on campus. We are looking at during the summer. We want to, instead of having summer school at all school sites, we want summer school at certain districts, so that when our contractors are in, students are not there, to ensure the safety of our students.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm thinking of is maybe decentralizing, because it looks like the centralization might be an issue where it goes from one level to another. And so one of the things that the legislature did was propose that the budgets go directly to the administrators, to the different schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
Site-based management.
Site-based management.
Mm-hmm.
So is that something that can speed up the process of response?
I can't speak to that. I know it was at one point piloted at Harmon Loop Elementary School in the early 90s, I believe, and it did not work. And so it's something perhaps that the new superintendent who comes in July, if he so wishes to implement site-based management, then that's something that management can address.
So why didn't it work then? And what was the issue?
I was not actually, I was still in school. I was still in college during that time that site-based management was in place.
Right, so maybe that's something we can reevaluate and see, because
Yeah.
if the principals have the power to ensure, like, let's say, I guess that they have the budget, right? They can
Right.
immediately do something about it, or, yeah, I don't know how this is going to work, but I feel like something has to shift.
Right.
We can't keep doing what we're doing because we're not going to get a different result.
And I
right?
understand, and we've partially empowered our school administrators. We do have, I believe, 3 schools. In lieu of getting custodial services, they're actually using that custodial services money to clean their own schools so that they can purchase what they need for their school site. So that's a unique item that school administrators are proposing, has proposed to then Superintendent John Fernandez, and he had approved that. So, you know, there are ways that school administrators can utilize their budget, and one example is foregoing the hiring of the custodial services and utilizing that money to purchase what is needed for their schools.
I think at this point, site-based management, I mean, and I think it was controversial in the past only because the central leadership at GDOE didn't want to surrender the power. But when you go out to the schools, which I've done, and I talk to the principals, and I know exactly what you're talking about, where they don't get the custodial services contract, they use the money instead. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have had nothing but positive things to say. But on the other side, when we're talking about them relying on GDOE Central, I mean, we just heard, and if I hear it one more time, I swear to God, my head is going to blow up. We send the concern to GDOE Central, we put it in the Munis system, we never hear back. Mm-hmm. And so I think at this point, I mean, if GDOE Central can't do the job, then let's let the principals do it. I mean, no offense, man, but clearly something is not working.
Okay.
Senator San Augustine?
Fair enough.
Sure, I'd like to comment there, Mr. Chair. When we talk about site-based budgeting, Erica, you remember, I think it was a few years ago, we tried that, we put it in the budget, and the beauty was that some principals came in and said, yes, that's what we want to do, so they can control the money. Then when we came to the budget hearing, they turned around and said, no, we don't want it. We want DOE Central to handle it. We pulled it away. So, you know, if we're going to say that the principals want it, they have to all 41 schools say they want to do it. Because we can put it in the Budget Act. But I'm not going to fault Central on it at all. Mm-hmm. No, they can only do what they can with what they have. Keep in mind that I was on the Board of Education, and the maintenance folks were regionalized. They were able to address all the school's concerns to the point where, I think that was less than 10 years ago when I was the chairman of the board, we fired the superintendent when a school closed because the jeopardy of a student's safety. So what I'm just surprised is that as J.M. Guerrero, because I'm from the north, I originally was from Deredu, I live in Chico, but it still impacts me, and I still visit all the schools. I see the grass not cut. I see a bunch of stuff happening. And it just amazes me because there are folks that are willing to help. And I've always asked this question when I was on the board. Why don't we do it in the summer? And I asked the question this, and I'll ask it as a senator. We wait for the summer to find out what the school needs to get done. My question then to the school is, what did you do for 9 months? I used to ask the question when I went down Southern High. I'd ask the principal then, why is your school so dirty? He said, because we didn't have money for paint. I said, okay, we went through the rest of the parts of the school. I said, I'm not going to identify the principal because I know the principal's name. Why is your school so dirty? And he said, Mr. Chairman, we didn't have money for paint. I said, stop. Your school is dirty. You have water blasters here. You're not cleaning your school. When you need the paint is when it's ready to be painted, not before. And the sad part, they had maintenance folks there. They had a water blast, had 2 water blasters down Southern High. They never did that. And that's what's, you know, when I heard what this hearing is about the PTO, I was ready to question the PTOs. You can only do so much. Then the question is going to be is what is DOE going to do? When we talk about you have ARP money, you have funding to fix schools. We've asked this before. Where is that listing of the schools that are listed to be fixed so that the schools will know you're on the list? You are earmarked to get fixed. Your canopy, the water blasting is going to happen. Because let's face it, there are many schools, and Erica, you know this, many of the agencies have adopted the schools to help out during the summer or whenever there's need. But it'll reach a point where if the principals really want to get the budget, site-based budgeting, that's easy. We don't need the superintendent to speak. we need principals to speak.
But I
If they
think-
say something, we'll support it.
I think, Senator, that they might be under a gag order, because even in the event of my bill, I had invited so many principals to come and testify, and I was informed that they were scared to get in trouble from downtown. And I think that this might have been what had happened in the instance you referenced, where several years ago we tried site-based management, and they came down here and said, yes, we want it, and then come budget, all of a sudden, a total 180, we don't want it. What I had heard, it was, again, that I had mentioned, the pressure from downtown.
But if yourself, Mr. Chair, and other colleagues here say, let's go site-based management, then we'll just do it. My only concern is the principals have to be on top of this. They can't say, yes, we're going to control, because when we say you control it, you're not going to have the cash in your hand, but you get to say what positions you want to fill and where you want the money to go. But understand that there's certain parts that you're not going to get funding for, because it's how they process it at Central. And then we end up having to take that budget and dissect it, so we make sure Central can still procure, can still do what they need to do, because the different schools are not going to go out there and, do their stuff. No, it ain't going to happen. It still has to go to Central. Things you do in the schools, the deputy superintendent still has a role to play. There's still, there's still a Central. But the schools will have access. Fill your positions. If you say you don't want a position, because if I'm correct, Astumbo Elementary was one of the schools where they turned from, instead of having custodial, they're cleaning their school themselves, and they were given the opportunity to spend that money for that. But I'm just concerned is that I just don't want us to get wrapped up on anything, because I know and I understand where Mr. Flores is coming from about safety, student safety. Yes, that's the highest on our priority, but we got to make sense of it.
I'd like
Okay.
to-
Erica, before you,
Yes.
can you ask just a quick question?
Sure.
The principals, are they required to take any kind of procurement classes?
No.
Okay.
But as far as, I like to address this because I supervise principals, and I've never, ever put a gag order on an administrator not to come down and say something. So I would like to know, I mean, if you want to take me to the side and tell me, I'm an ethical
No, ma'am,
leader.
again, I'm not,
Chris,
I'm not, of course, I'm not trying to throw you
Senator
under the bus,
Barnett,
ma'am.
And I take that as a disrespect to my position as the deputy superintendent who oversees school administrators, because I'm on the phone at 3 in the morning.
Sure.
Fielding calls from principals. I have an open door policy. I have a very good relationship with every administrator. And so to say that I've placed a gag
didn't say
order
that, ma'am.
or central office, and I would say that the acting superintendent Wampat has never, ever placed a gag order.
Maybe I need to clarify what I iterated to Acting Superintendent Wampat in the public hearing for Bill 29. I had told her, and don't shoot the messenger, ma'am, but that's just what I was told.
Right.
And I told Acting Superintendent Wampat that I wasn't sure if that was a directive from Central or the culture of the government of Guam. But it is what it is. These principals, a lot of these administrators, even school aides, let's just be honest with each other. And I'm not saying they're scared of, the Deputy Superintendent Erica Cruz, or they're scared of former Superintendent John Fernandez, or they're scared of
Right.
Acting Superintendent Judy Wampat. But maybe it's just the culture of the government of Guam. Let's not deny this here. It's a culture.
Yeah, I
Employees
think-
are scared to speak out about the conditions in their workplace, whether it's at the school or at the agency, because there's a fear of retribution.
And that's in any,
Correct.
that's in any agency,
And then,
whether
again,
it's
I didn't
private or
say they
public,
were
right?
scared of you. I'm just
Right.
saying the fact is they fear retribution for speaking out.
And for the principals that are listening out there, they know that they should not be afraid, because I've never, ever treated school administrators badly. And I can put my name on the line for that.
Erica,
yeah.
I have going back to the site-based management, this type of attempt, we know that certain schools are larger than others and will we need additional funding. And With site-based management, the issue that was brought to our attention when we were doing this actually was because the principals did not want to have to go out and do procurement, did not want to go and have to get bids. But if we were to do a site-based management, and go back to that, what would it take to, before you assign, principals for schools or decide who's going to be the principal for the school? Would you be able to, what would it take to provide them that, the course for procurement?
Well,
Could I interject on that one before you attempt to answer that? I don't think at the time we were talking about site-based that we were going to require the principals to do the procurement. No, it's identify your needs, tell Central, tell the maintenance folks, say, hey, we want a canopy. They'll do the look for the bids and stuff like that, and then they'll advise the principal, hey, this is what's going to cost. And on your behalf, Erica, I've always supported you. I've known you since I was on the board, and I know you don't believe in gag orders because you are a principal and you're still a principal in my eyes. You're still the lady that's always fighting for safety and everything. But I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, well, the only issue with that is the principals keep saying they're not being heard at the administration. They're not moving forward. And if they are really, wanting to help the school out and be a good principal, then they should do the work and not have to rely so much on the administration, downtown to go after these contracts, to provide, the bid, put out the bid, do it themselves. They can do it. I just think that if they don't utilize the funds, then they will lose the funds. Right. They have a certain amount of time to utilize the funds, so they got to go through that whole procurement. If they don't use it by the end of the year, they lose it. And here's my concern. Then the administration makes it so difficult for them to use those funds that money is going to go lapse into the administration instead of staying at the school. And we rather have it stay at the school. So there are mechanisms in place to and have the principals take more of an active role instead of just constantly say the administration's not hearing us, they're not hearing us, And I think that, so my question again, Erica, what would it take to train these principals to go through the procurement training?
Frank, would you be able to answer that?
Frank, can you just state your name and all that stuff for the record?
Franklin Cooper Nurse, Acting Deputy of Finance and Administrative Services. Senator, I'm sorry, I just walked in. Can you go ahead and repeat your question so I'm clear?
Sure. We were talking about site-based management, and a lot of times the funding that goes to these schools, they end up not spending it in that year's time. And then the money reverts back to Department of Education Administration. So by putting more of an onus on the principals to do the procurement, they see they have this amount of money, they've got to spend it within 1 year to fix these repairs. Have them do it instead of constantly telling us, oh, the administration is not answering my calls. I told them 3 different times and they haven't responded. So my question would be, if we do this site-based management, it would take the principals to learn how to do procurement correctly, because we all know if they don't do it correctly, it goes back to the beginning and here's another 6 months lost. So what would it take to get these principals up to par on procurement?
First of all, I think that obviously that's an idea that we have to explore, we have to re-examine, we have to look at the successes of site-based management, look at the pros and cons, obviously look at the route we're achieving, to make sure that we don't shift gears halfway and we're not successful. In terms of converting an administrator to learning procurement, I don't think that's the best use of our administrators' time, quite frankly. And when they're at the school, I prefer them to be educational leaders and really lead their school at that level.
But what about providing then to the school an individual who knows about procurement and leave like a vice principal who might know about procurement and leave the education to the principal? There are ways to do it.
Agree. I think that's, thinking outside of the box, that could be something that you always want to enhance their knowledge and skill set. I don't feel that it's going to be a strong position for us to take to have our administrators in and, our vice principals to be doing and be procurement experts, I think the requirements for their background and education are far different. Specifically, too, the law requires certification in procurement. That could be a time-consuming process, depending on the...
With all due respect, Mr. Nurse, I asked you, what would it take? Your opinion on this
What would so
appreciated,
anyone
but can you
that-
just tell me what would it take?
Anyone that handles procurement has to be certified in procurement. If you want an administrator to handle procurement, they would have to meet the law requirements and be certified. There's different levels of buying. So in the first levels of buying, you can have a procurement person who's processing at 1 and 2. And then when you get into the higher level of buying, again, the law is very specific, who can actually do the procurement, who signs the procurement record, and who's the procurement officer. So basically on those laws, the chief procurement officer, we do have that designation, our superintendent serves as that, and then we have someone running specifically our procurement office. One of the things that you mentioned that could be advantageous is having an assignment to a different school, having them connect to a buyer supervisor, with the knowledge assigned specific to school base.
Yeah, but that's the problem. They're not getting their calls answered. They're not getting the requests brought in, these principals who are basically throwing it back onto the administration's lap. And we need to get them engaged. You talk about, the education part, it's there, but this is a safety issue. And, even our own, one of our senators decided to take the procurement class just so to be well-versed on it, and there is no reason why. I mean, how many principals are at GW? Or there's a principal, and how many vice principals are there? Same thing with other schools. There, at least one of them should learn procurement, and I think that this DOE should provide that training for even vice principals or principals, so they know what they're doing. That's something that I think, just let us know how much that will cost for the classes, okay?
Okay.
And that's something that I will bring up to Superintendent Wampat, that if administrators want to go on the path of site-based management, then that's something that we have to research and seriously consider. And perhaps pilot schools, and we did at one point Harmon Loop Elementary, and potentially pilot schools to see how successful it is. But to have all 41 schools go site-based management, that's kind of scary for me to address. But I think much research needs to go into researching what site-based management entails.
Right.
But thank you for that. Thank you for that suggestion.
Thank you, Ms. Erica. I think that we kind of got off on a tangent about site-based management. But again, the only reason we did that is because we hear, whenever I go to the schools, it's the same thing. We put it in the munis, and Todd's at. What is the munis anyway?
Well, basically, when there is an issue at a school, let's say a toilet is down, they input their request that a toilet in the 7th grade building is down, and facilities and maintenance would have that information, and they would address it that way. It's not a call, or it's, obviously we don't do Xerox anymore, but photocopying, right, or a fax machine. It's all in the Munis system, dated, and we've been working closely with facilities and maintenance as far as addressing the matter. We've revamped or working since our last meeting. There is a rapid response team who addresses things that are of urgency, and then things that are not urgent, let's say, those are items that are in the Munis system. However, everything has to be inputted in the Munis system so that it can be tracked and then sent to the respective, let's say, plumber, carpenter, or whatnot, to address the school's issues.
So why would you think that just school to school we hear so much that the requests that go into the munis are not addressed? Is there a backlog, or this goes Phil?
Yes, Senator.
It's your fault, Phil.
So as we presented last roundtable, we have 27 now of 70. So we're like not enough workers to do the work. So a lot of the work is focused, and even the break-ins, in any one weekend, we can get up to 4 schools broken in. And so that takes away the manpower to perform even the emergency work. We still address it, but so we're playing catch up to begin with because the age of the facilities and then the shortage of manpower. The backlog, so what Ms. Erica said was the not emergency issues. They're there, but they pile up because we're busy taking care of emergency issues. Almost everything at all of our schools are pretty much emergency in nature at this point.
So it's a combination of backlog and prioritization of the different requests that come in.
And shortage of
Manpower.
Right, yes. And I don't want this to turn into a GDOE taking over the roundtable.
My understanding was it's PTOs.
Yeah. But I'm so grateful you guys are here, to maybe address some of the concerns from the PTO members who are present. Mr. Flores, did you want to say anything in closing before you go?
Real quick, before we go on recess. Mr. Frank, so I know that there's always a process to everything, right? But for the little ones, could the process, I just hear that term, side-based. Could the little problems be side-based, like a broken faucet, a water leak, so that the bigger problems still have their processing for payment and who's going to do this and who's going to be contracted? So like, do you guys have within the maintenance of GDOE someone that can fix a faucet?
Yes, and every school has a facilities manager or employee who can basically self-help, right? So if a sink is down or if the toilet is running, I mean, in fact, I know how to troubleshoot a lot of stuff because I was a former administrator. So, I mean, they can attest that on the emergency chat, I tell them how to fix the toilet if it's running, right? So these are self-help items that school administrators have employees that can address certain items. So for example, George Washington High School, when they were here, they needed 40 or whatever faucets, we were able to give it to them. And so what I've done after that meeting was ask the school administrators to provide a list of items that we can purchase for them so that it could be self-help instead of calling facilities and maintenance to fix something. So that's a self-help. That's another item that we've put in place. So self-help, emergency response team, and then obviously things that are backlogged because of a shortage of employees.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Flores, you good? Anything else you want to ask?
So are they going to
Because I know you don't get to talk to these guys probably ever. So that's why we had this round table, and I'm so grateful you guys came so that kind of create this conversation, right? Because we want you to be heard. So go for it.
So like, going back to the break-in, sir, it's inevitable, right? No one is there at the schools. But we see it like gambling places will have one security guard. Depending on the facility, right? If it's too big, can Guam, the government of Guam hire one security guard, trained, please, with, again, depending on the facility, with the golf cart to do premises, like, you know what I mean? Like, is it gonna be too much? It beats paying for one security guard roving with the golf cart than paying for 16 laptops or 16 computers that are stolen, 13 broken windows, 2 doors jams, a cut fence. Like, I think we can pay a security guard to rove our premises while we are at home, while we're cuddling at home, to watch the premises. Is that within a budget, or is that something that we can't afford? And I'm not too sure who this question pertains to, but if anyone can answer.
We submit our budget. And, you know.
Erica, have you looked into
Bye, Sissy
cameras?
Joe.
How about cameras? Cameras have been not only a deterrent, but cameras can also, from a security guard, the cost on that. But what about cameras?
And I agree with you on all of those items. As a former school administrator,
Those are expensive.
the problem is funding. the problem that we're facing right now is that our schools have never been maintained the way it should be, like a home. You maintain your home, you renovate every 5 years or whatnot. Our schools have been neglected. A majority of our monies are going to personnel and not going to things as renovating schools and whatnot. Luckily, we have these ARP fundings that will be able to address these major ticket items that we've never been able to get our full allotment for the Department of Education. So, you know, yeah, I agree with you. We would love to have cameras. We would love to have a security system. We would like to have security guards at our campus, but when it comes to prioritization, the prioritization is to pay our employees. And Mr. Cooper Nurse is here, and I believe that 85% of our monies are going to personnel, to pay salary. That's what it is. It's all salary. It's you know, I'm not making up excuses. I've been a school administrator at Beneventi Middle School when I had 1,800 students, and Tello, you know that. And I make do with what I can. And honestly, you know, we put in these requests. We go through the you know, formality of filling in our budget packet. But at the end of the day, DOE obviously is the largest government agency, but we end up shorthanded and you know, shortchanged, and we're ending up having to pay for our employees. That's our priority.
But just imagine being a parent of a public school student who's going to school in a facility that received a D rating because of rodent infestation, cockroaches, falling ceiling tiles, all those things. So if it was a restaurant, it would be shut down.
Right.
But we're sending our children to these schools that pose imminent safety and health hazards and risks to our children, and they turn on this hearing and they hear you saying our priority is to pay our employees. How does that?
Well, it's not that. The students are the priority. That's our main priority. However, the funding that we're receiving is not enough to do much of anything. 85% of our funding goes directly to personnel. I'm not saying that, you know, I want my child, I mean, my child is a product of a public school. I don't want him or any child, 26,000 students, to be in a school that is not, you know, fit to be in. However, the situation is we come down here all the time and ask for more money, but we don't get the money that we need. That's the issue. And as the finance person, he can attest to that, you know, we even struggle with paying utilities.
Well, ma'am, with all due respect, I just got here, but I am committed to
You know,
hassle
yeah.
Uncle Senator Joe over there. No, but I mean, you know, we're
Yes,
having this
but-
conversation, and then we're being expected to add 22% on top of your personnel costs. But I support the general pay plan raises because I believe those are the hardest working for the most part. I don't know about these DOA $80,000 earners. I mean, maybe that's a conversation for another day. But I believe the GPP workers, especially in the school system where you have a clerk typist 3 who's also a cafeteria worker, who's also a school aide, who's also a 1-1 aide, who's also a assistant principal in some cases, right? They deserve it, but in order to do that, I feel like we have to address this situation with the schools and fix it so that I can go to sleep at night and say, yeah, I'm going to give you your 22%, but you're going to be going to school in a facility that, you know, meets the basic, nothing fancy, just basic health and safety guidelines. So that's what we're here for. You know, we just need that commitment from the leadership.
Senator Barnett, we are working diligently as far as using ARP money. We've cut a lot of programs so that we can fix the facilities in all of our schools. And so that is our commitment to our stakeholders, our 26,000 parents that we have and students. But it is a priority. They are our priority. And, you know, I too would not want my child at a school where there is a D rating. But you do have our commitment. I've been with the system for over 30 years. As a teacher, you know, a school administrator, custodian, substitute teacher, one-to-one aide, you name it, we do it. We have very hardworking employees with the Department of Education. And so hopefully with the ARP money and prioritizing facilities, that our schools will be renovated as should have been done many, many years ago and on a consistent basis.
I do have a question for Mr. Nurse. How much is the,
Cooper Nurse.
I'm not picking on you, you know that, but you're the man when it comes to money. It was mentioned earlier about a power bill, a utility bill that is lurking above that needs to be paid. What is that amount? Okay.
Sorry, Senator. So generally, we average around $1.2 million in power. So it's about annually about $15 million.
And you're behind paying that bill right now? Or
It's in the process. So currently, we leveraged ARP, so the third party is doing a direct pay from federal funds. So the AP was, gosh, I want to say in the last month's report, it was 1.9 million, but that has been in process and should be reimbursed already. So I can look into it when I get back to the office to make sure that that's paid.
So ARP can pay for the power?
It has. It can, and it has been.
Okay, are you behind in paying your bill for the utilities?
Since the leverage and switch to the federal grants, we've been much more timely. So if it's behind, it's not behind in an aging AP, it would be in current processing.
Okay, because I always heard a rumor that you might be $2 million behind in payments.
In the last one, it was 1.9, but it was current and it was being reimbursed. So it's a matter of them. And 1.9 is current billing, as I just indicated, that our monthly billing is about 1.5.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted.
Thank you, Senator
Mr.
Tidy.
Chair,
Yes,
before you
yes,
go on,
Senator Smoxy.
I don't want us to go into I prefer we don't go too much into the detail because we're evaluating where we may call an oversight hearing on the budget for DOE. Now, when I say oversight, I'm not talking about your 2024 budget. It's what's been going on with government funds and not too much in ARP, but when you start saying you're using ARP money, every budget we've passed, it's about 13 million we give for power and water. If anybody's going to state here, and I'm not going to have a discussion with anybody about it, but if you're going to tell me or state here you're using ARP money, then where is that money we funded? That would be my message. So I'd rather we leave it alone for now, because if I call the oversight and you're the chair of education and Senator Tidy is my vice chair, books will be open and the people of Guam are going to see everything. So I just be very careful and we just move along with the PTO, your concerns, because money is going to be shown. It will come out.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Bart, is there any way you could put in a word with Mr. Beneventi to let these guys slide a little bit on the power?
That's above his pay grade.
I don't think I rank to do that.
You're not up there yet?
I
Okay.
still pay the same power bill.
I want to take a short recess because we do have a lot of people here to testify. So I wanted to, Mr. Bart, did you have anything in closing? Are you good?
I'm good, Senator. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to the Guam Power Authority engineers, the team of 4 engineers that are assisting GDOE and going around and assessing and making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Right on. Thank you, sir. Mr. Flores, anything in closing? Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, guys. This is just all constructive criticism. No one's being blamed. We just want you guys to do a better job. I'm not saying that you're not doing one already, but, Guam does have that luxury of having private schools. And you said it yourself, some of the families do go to public schools. And we can say it again, public schools. It's not well taken care of, like you just said, man. It could be better. But I don't want the government of Guam to look ashamed while all these private schools are looking good. You know what I mean? I don't have the luxury to send my son to a private school, which is why I'm willing to help my son's school get better. and I'll be there tomorrow morning. If anyone wants to help UP Elementary
There you
School,
go.
we're cutting
UP
grass.
Elementary.
So if you want to come over, food will be there, drinks will be there. It's just for the kids. It's not for me. I'm not trying to look good for anyone.
Right on.
But we are one people. We are a diverse people. So let's unite and let's conquer all.
We appreciate parents like you, sir.
Oh, Miss,
Thank you
ma'am,
very much.
I'm sorry, but he was asking earlier before you arrived, the first question he asked was, they're doing the big cleanup tomorrow because ahead of the accreditation visit. He was asking if GDOE was going to be able to supply any personnel other than the ones who were at the school to assist with the cleanup, correct?
Unfortunately, we can't pay by money. We just have a good heart that will be there in hopes that other good hearts will come along and strong hands.
Happy labor, right?
Happy labor.
Happy labor.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Okay, we're going to take just a short recess. We have a lot of people here to provide testimony. We're going to go ahead and change everyone out. Yes, ma'am, or did you want to wait until we settle out, or we'll just, go ahead. Ma'am, turn on your mic. Thank you. And can you just say your name and your
Rita
organization?
Richango, PC Lujan, PTA president. Rita Richango, PC Lujan, PC Lujan president. PC Lujan, PTA president. I'm just, because you brought up the whole self-help supplies. When would they be delivered? I believe our school has requested for tiles and glue, and still it has not been delivered.
Since when, ma'am?
Not too sure, but I know that's something that my husband probably can come and volunteer to help.
Antes Guantes or Hagaset?
I guess when it was requested.
Are we talking about months back?
It's been it's been a while. I just want to, because she mentioned self-help, so.
Yeah, so, Senator, no worries, if you want me to answer that.
Please.
So, apparently 3 weeks ago, the survey ended, right? So we took that, we had to take the survey, the material needs that the schools want, go out and get quotes. So we've done that. We've entered a requisition, and so now it's going through the process to be converted to a purchase order. And deliveries will be made as soon as the POs are available. I'm going to say 2 weeks if we push it with procurement, yeah.
We're going to check you in 2 weeks and 1 month.
Yeah,
I'm
Senator
going to go look for
Barnett's,
you. I know where maintenance is at.
so,
I'll hold him accountable for that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, we're going to take a...
Mr. Chair, I just asked
Yes,
that,
sir.
well, if all the PTOs, if you've got something going on the weekend, put for both and announce it so that maybe we can actually announce it, and then, because I've gone out to many of the schools and helped before. And I wish I knew about UPI. I would be ready for that, but tonight to call all my people is not going to work. But if I know there's something going on out there, then we'll reach out. I'm part of quite a few motorcycle clubs. I would ask them, let's go out there and let's tackle one school at a time. But they just need to know this in advance. Unfortunately, PJ, short notice is kind of too tight. But we'll get you next round.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
You can get me for next round, too.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Don't forget, ask Uncle John, hey, let it slide a little bit. Thank you. We're going to take a short recess, and the Committee on Education, Public Safety, and the Arts will return with this roundtable for PTO, parents, students, and PTO members shortly. The time is 4:06. We'll be back. Check, check. Oh, we're gonna, sorry. I always wanted to do that. We're gonna go by order of sign-in. And so if you guys could just get with Ayana, and then we'll take your seats at the table and we'll continue the hearing. And we are back. Biba Betness. Thank you guys again for coming out as we continue this roundtable conducted by the Committee on Education, Public Safety, and the Arts. Called to order again after the short recess at 4:17 on Biba Betness. Notice of this hearing was disseminated to all local media outlets on March 10th, 2023, with a second notice provided on March 15th. Notice of the hearing was also made known on the Guam Legislature's website and on the Government of Guam Public Notices portal. Again, the purpose of this meeting is to empower the voices of all of our PTO members, parents, and students, and to hear your concerns, issues, and complaints, please, on the state of facilities and maintenance, academics, safety, as well as general public comments. Thank you again. We're very humbled by the turnout here today, and we are going to continue our testimonies, and we're going to Ms. Rita Rechingel, who is representing the Parent-Teacher Association from Don Pedro C. Lujan Elementario. I'd like to also recognize Senator Joe San Augustine, Senator Tello Taitagui, Minority Leader Senator Frank Blas Jr. So, Ms. Rita, if you don't mind, please tell us your concerns, issues, and/or complaints. Please go, but turn on your microphone first. Right there. So you have a bunch of issues.
Not a bunch of issues, but I heard it earlier at the first.
We want to hear about everything that you need us to know about PC
So
Lujan.
as a parent and the PTA president, we have a few issues at PC Lujan, which is like every single problem at every other school. We have the canopy issue or the walkway for the children. The roofing is made out of wood and tin. We have holes, water falls through when it rains. Some parts of our school is blocked off. That is very inconvenient for people with disabilities. I have a kid that has ADHD and anxiety. My son stops in the beginning of the school when he has an anxiety attack, and those walkways or those canopies or awnings or whatever you want to call it, those are needed. Because if it's raining hard and my kid is having a breakdown, what is there to protect my kid from getting wet before school even starts? That's one issue. The next issue is the grass cutting. I know they did talk about that earlier. Grass cut needs to be consistent. We have companies doing this, correct? Or
Allegedly.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand it's DOE everything. Oh, anyways, grass cutting, that needs to be consistent. In my son's school, there is the middle courtyard that floods. Our principal reached out to GCA Trades Academy to make a ravine just so the kids won't be having to have a slip and slide in one area going to kinder or second grade. The grass is already 3 feet tall. I almost put my 4-year-old in there to take a picture to show the grass is that tall. It has the tallest grass out of the whole campus. Yes, and that's between second grade, third grade, and yes. The cleaning contract with, I believe it's Lucky
Kids, yeah.
Oh, I thought it's cleaning company, okay. There, as a parent, I've gone into the female restroom, and sometimes there's no tissue, sometimes there's no soap, sometimes there's no container with the soap. Paper towel, the floors are slippery sometimes. Yes, they are doing their job, but it's not consistent. They claim that there is no supplies, or that I guess whatever is allotted for the school runs out. That's a big issue as a parent. We have parents who have donated to the classrooms. I've seen teachers donate for their classrooms. And that shouldn't happen if we already have that funding. I'm not complaining as a parent that we have to donate, because some parents like me, we like to donate to our schools if we have the means. Our glass and aluminum windows around the campus, they need to be upgraded or updated. That's how the suckies decide they're gonna come and pick which window they wanna crack open, whichever's the easiest. It needs to be upgraded. Those windows, I was a PC Lujan student, I bet those windows are the same students from like 35 years ago when I attended that school. Yeah, so that's how the sucky's getting faster. I'm talking your language. The bathroom repair and upgrades need to be done. The bathroom stalls, it has a lock, but it's a lock worthless because all you need to do is push it and it opens, even if it's on a lock mode. You can see how many times they've made holes for I'm not sure how that lock goes. So there's like maybe sometimes 2 or 3 on the wooden part. It just needs to be upgraded. It needs to be changed out. The plumbing sometimes is not all that great. I've seen the boys' restroom closed down a few times. I'm not sure exactly what the plumbing issues on that, but I've seen pretty much. I go to our school 2 to 3 times out of the week and I see what's going on. You know, no child should be having to go to school and say, Mom, I don't have tissue to wipe myself. My child, he holds his, because there's no tissue sometimes. I don't want my son to be getting sick because the school can't provide. And that's the reason why people have to donate, because we don't want our kids to have to go through that. Back to the grass cutting. Sorry, I'm jumping all around.
It's fine, ma'am.
The grass cutting. I believe our principal has reached out to the mayor's office to assist and for volunteers to assist as well. But it needs to be consistent. We've had, so this is how it works. We're in Barrigada. They have, past the school, we have the military offices, residential, and other businesses or whatnots there. We cannot block the road when we're gonna pick up our kid. So if it's raining hard, guess what? Thankfully, we have parents that like to help out to pull cars out, but we've had parents get stuck in the mud. The grass on the main road barely ever gets cut. The parents who park outside the gate, that have to walk and get their kids as as a walker, I guess. They have to have sticker birds in their clothes, sometimes get stuck in the mud as well in the area that they park at. I understand the I know our school is, DOE is not in charge of the outside schools or outside the gate, but it'd be nice if DOE can actually help us on that. If we have to get gravel or some kind of concrete, just enough for the cars to get on top of it while we wait. We're making little holes in that area where we line up. And the only time we get to go on the main road is when the line starts trickling in to get our kid. That's a big concern. What else? Are we able to get a scissor lift? Wait, where's, to paint or water blast our second floor of PC Lujan?
You need a scissor lift?
I guess that's what it's called.
Right.
Or
It is,
scaffold,
yeah.
or I'm not sure what it's called.
Someone
was talking about earlier about water blasting and paint.
Correct.
You get the paint first, then you water blast, because if you water blast first and you don't have the paint or the right color, guess what? You just wasted your time.
Sure did.
Yep.
Yeah. So when was the last time your school was water blasted and who did it?
Not too sure about that. But it needs like major paint job. I see the mold growing on their awning that I was talking about with the holes and the broken tin. Every single place that has a canopy with the wood and tin, it should be actually closed down, but how are our kids gonna go around to get to their classroom? We have one awning that has grass, or not grass, but little weed trees already. Yesterday I went around and I took pictures of our school, and it's sad, We should be doing more for our kids. The Department of Education should be doing more for our kids. Our kids shouldn't have to suffer.
Ma'am, can I ask, we had a public hearing on Bill 29 and the GDOE leadership is asking this legislature to trust them in what they're doing and to let them do what they're doing and don't butt in. Are you satisfied with the job GDOE leadership is doing, or do you think that the legislature needs to get involved?
I believe the legislature needs to get involved. There's other ways we can help besides this whole contract thing. We have, I would say, there's DOC inmates that need to pay their time. Let them go to the schools on a non-school day and let them cut the grass. If the companies are behind, let them cut the grass. It's fair. It'll pay off their time or whatever they owe the government.
On that note, ma'am, because I did follow up on that because it was one of the ideas I had. I was told by Department of Corrections leadership, stop me if you heard this one before. Shortages, staffing shortages. They don't have enough staff to supervise the inmates to go out here and bush cut like the olden days. Remember the olden days? When you drive around, you see the inmates bush cutting, and guess what? When you saw them bush cutting, I said, man, I don't want to go to jail, even though I like bush cutting.
Well, they shouldn't be having to do arts and crafts in DOC.
Wow. Zing, huh?
I'm just saying.
No, I agree.
I'm
totally.
just saying.
Yes. Make them work, right?
And here's another one. DOE can go purchase the commercial size lawnmower, and maybe you can find a parent in case the grass is going all crazy, have a parent be able to use that to cut the grass. That was one of our things if we didn't have other issues as far as our taxes that we need to finish. Like, that was one of the things I actually really wanted to invest in or fundraise was a riding lawnmower. And it sounds crazy, but I'm pretty sure anybody can do a lawnmower as long as they don't hit a rock and break the blade. You know, I'm just saying how you know, with the crazy awnings that we have, the kids have to sometimes walk in the grass, and guess what? Sticker birds come onto their clothes, their shoes. They have to walk in the rain, walk through the mud, and then guess what? There's more cleaning to do because the kids just dragged in muddy shoes. So I don't know. Just some suggestions. We can have more help. You just need to get the other resources into play. We don't need to have so much money if we use these other resources.
Right,
that's
but
there.
the trick is we actually have $130 million in ARP funds that can be used for a lot of these things that you're talking about.
Then if we're gonna get a contract service, then get a contract service that has enough people to go to at least 4 schools a day or a week. Not one company that has only 20 men, but they have like 10 million other contracts all over the island. There's so many solutions, but I don't see DOE or whoever is in charge making those solutions happen.
It's GDOE, ma'am.
Okay, GDOE.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to more testimony, and then we'll open it up for the colleagues to ask you guys questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We hear a lot of the same issues, especially with this vendor. What is it again? Unlucky kids, because our kids are unlucky because this vendor is not providing the service that we're paying for, and I hear it all the time. They send one person to clean a school. They don't even have soap, so the teachers end up giving soap and again giving Clorox wipe. So what are we paying for? And it goes back to, you know, what we talked about earlier, that quality control of these contracts. Let's not hire vendors who are going to demolish a classroom and pile a mountain of debris and leave it there for 5 years. You know, we need to check these guys. So we're going to do that. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you're welcome.
Mr. Joseph Cruz, if you don't mind, sir, we're going to go to you next. And could you just identify yourself on the record?
Sure. Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Joseph Cruz. I'm the PTO president for Antolán Middle School. Oh, it's on, but it's not. Yeah, so kind kind of the same issues everybody else is having, but I do want to have to just bring it up. Maintenance issues, we have floor tiles. We can't use some of the classrooms because some of the tiles have come up and cracked, so they're hazardous. Of course, AC units that need to be repaired. Our cafeteria is without an AC right now because it has one large central unit that is not working. We've got plumbing problems, leaks, so our water bills just kind of climbing up there, lighting issues, and going to that, talking with our principal there, the biggest problem that she's having right now is a lack of communication with the maintenance division for DOE. She puts in requests and they get nothing back, not even a response. If they do send somebody out, you'll see that guy once, and that's it. They won't even communicate what was done. Most of the time it's just assessments. They'll come in, assess, and disappear, and then they'll get no response. So, I mean, they can't really plan anything if they don't know what's going on with repairs. So we're asking for help, if we can get some outside help from other divisions, Public Works or somebody, and some materials from DOE so that we can do the work, even if it's to get parent volunteers to come in and do those things, changing out faucets, broken toilets, stuff like that. And the other thing that is really pressing is this late busing. So we don't have enough buses to take all the kids at one time. So some of the kids have to stay back and wait for the second round of buses to come by and pick them up. Sometimes these buses come so late, it'd be like past 5:30, and you've got kids who are sitting there since school got out, sleeping on the benches, and by the time they get home, they're just getting dropped at bus stops, and then they have to walk home. Kids are tired, so that's another thing that they wanted to bring up. I don't know who handles the busing, but that's a DPW, but that's a big deal for our school. And then again, just what everybody else is hearing. So we're just kind of asking if we could get help from other agencies and maybe even the money to purchase these materials that we can make these small repairs on, to get toilets working, sinks working, things like that.
How many working bathrooms do you have at Antala Middle School?
I didn't get provided that, but just me personally walking around inside there, in each of the restrooms, there's maybe 2 toilets that are out, a couple of urinals. So, I mean, they're still usable, but there's a ton of students, and just holding it to wait in line.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you got to have it connected to the nurse's office.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Teacher's
just the reality.
lounge.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just asking because I had heard something about a lot of the bathrooms at Antalan being out of commission. I haven't been able to confirm it. I heard it from a parent. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, same. So, like I said, I've been to a couple of the bathrooms there when we have events and stuff like that. And I think even in the gym, the boys' locker room, there's 1 urinal and 1 toilet stall working. I don't know what it is in the girls' locker room, but that kind of stuff.
If you don't mind, could I just ask, before we allow you to conclude your testimony, there was an incident where a student of Antala Middle School was hit while crossing the street. I've talked to a few parents, and they told me that they were surprised that hadn't happened sooner and more often.
Yeah, so I posted it on Facebook. We used to be allowed to park on the side of the road there and drop off our kids at 7:15. And so one day, I was just talking to my daughter while we're waiting, and I said, look at these cars, they're just flying by here. And so I just happened to grab a video, and sure enough, just like that, cars are flying by on a red light. And the day after the young gentleman got hit, Nick from the KUAM, he was out there, and he was going to cross the street, and he was taking video. He almost got hit by a car running a red light, and he caught it on video. You know, so we can tell the kids to be careful and stuff like that, but if people are running red lights, there's nothing really you can do about that, you know. Then now they block off the sidewalks, and you can't park there in the morning to drop off your kids. So now you got to drop them off farther and let them walk to the crosswalk. So I don't know how that came about, but it seems kind of counterproductive.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
You good?
Yeah.
Anything else? You don't mind sticking around for a question?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.
Thanks.
Who was here next? I think we'll just go with the young lady. Or her mom.
No, I'll just introduce the young lady. My name is Shantae FJ, and I am the PASTA president at Jose Rios Middle School. My daughter actually skipped soccer practice today to join the meeting, so she's going to testify for her school. I thought it'd be better to hear from somebody who actually does the day-to-day for the last 3 years, you know, in the school. She's brought her notes, so she's going to introduce herself.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello? So my name is Sapphire J, and I've been attending Jose Rios for the past 3 years, and I'm an 8th grader. My biggest concerns are our air conditioning and bathrooms. Currently, I believe all the rooms in the gym have no aircon, which are the 2 art rooms and the 1 creative writing class, and I think the health room as well. In the regular classes, our basic life skills classes do not have aircon, and one of the 8th grade science classes. With our restrooms, we have 4 restrooms on the whole campus, not including the staff's restroom and the nurse's bathroom. Out of that, we have 2 working bathrooms, which is the gym bathroom, but you can only use that bathroom if you have gym, and the 7th grade bathroom. Our 6th grade bathroom has just gone down today, and our 8th grade bathroom has not been working since last year. Oh, and our buses, I ride the bus in the morning, and I haven't been riding it after school because I do have soccer, but lately my bus has not come till 8:15, and I won't arrive at school till like 8:45, and if it comes really late, I usually don't get to school till first period starts, so I would miss home base. Our gym roof does leak when it rains, and our restrooms do not have paper towel, but usually our gym teachers will provide us with it if we do need it up in the gym. I think that's it.
You're good?
You good? You sure? Thank you.
So the only thing I want to add that we did add as PASTA when we had our meeting prior to coming here, just to make sure we had all of our talking points together, was concerns with the cleaners. Same with PC Lujan. They're very intermittent with when they come and then if supplies are provided. So if not, the school or the teachers are providing those supplies, as well as the grass cutting, and then maintenance issues such as tiles that are missing. Like she mentioned, the gym leaks, so there's times where the gym teachers are running across or students to wipe the floor so they're not slipping during practices or, of course, PE class. And then a big thing for me, she posts on Instagram more than I would like, but it's flooding. When it rains, swimming pools are in the that main courtyard that they have. So, of course, when the wind comes, the rain blows it towards the hallways, so the students are kind of cramping to try to get away from the rain. They can't go in the courtyard because it's raining and flooded, but it makes it hard to walk to their other classes, even if they're only in one, I think they call them pods. So that seems to be kind of an issue all around at all the schools. And that's all I have to add.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I missed it. Are you still at JQ?
I am.
Okay. What about the crying concrete?
That has since been fixed.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That's good to hear. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I also want to recognize Senator Joanne Brown. Let me just shout out my colleagues real quick since we're coming back from that recess. Senator Joanne Brown, Senator Tello Taidagui, Senator Sabina Perez, Senator Frank Blas Jr., and Senator Joseph Augustine. Thank you. Who is next? Ma'am, if you don't mind introducing yourself and your name for the record.
Hafaday and good afternoon, honorable senators of this 37th Guam Legislature and Chairperson Chris Malafunction Barnett. My name is Marissa Recalde Muña. I'm addressing you as the PTO president of Weddingell Elementary School and as a mother of a 3rd grade West student. Thank you for inviting us here today to give us an opportunity to voice our concerns. I am a proud alumna of Weddingell, having roamed its halls in 1992 through 1998. My 3 older brothers, whom are 8, 10, and 12 years older than me, have also attended the school, along with relatives, friends of mine who are now serving our community as professionals, and also have children attending their alma mater. In choosing a school for my son, I felt there was no better choice than for him to go to Weddingell. He is now 3rd grade, and now we, my husband and I, intend to keep him there because we know that the administrators and the staff are dedicated and committed to providing the best education they can to their students. Public school does not always have the best rep. While many of our colleagues and friends send their kids to private school, we did not question the quality of education our son would receive by sending him to public school, as my husband and I are products of the system. And my husband has also dedicated 7 years as a counselor at GDOE. As an outsider looking in, I have the utmost respect for the hardworking staff who wake up to work every day for our children, because education is where it starts for all of us. We do all we can to support our community because our growth and contributions as individuals come in full circle. For our students to look at them as seeds to sproutlings, we know how important it is to have a strong foundation for them to grow, prosper, and be fruitful. If education is the water and sunlight that feeds them, given to them by the gardeners, the faculty, who nurture them, then the soil is their environment, the schools, for them to take hold and grow their roots. Weddingell was built in 1968, and although the staff do their best to maintain its bright white and teal walls, its shining exterior is only a facade for its wounds lurking beneath its surface. I heard of leaks in 2 classrooms, with one being converted to a storage to make the most out of the space. Today, we sit here comfortable in a new building with AC, the finest E-fit or mahogany carved wood furniture, beautiful paintings, clean restrooms fully stocked with toilet paper and hand soap, while our children are forced to sit in old classrooms, sharing textbooks they can't take home, and eat meals in the cafeteria with a broken down AC unit that has been in disrepair since June 2022, 9 months ago. A hot and humid cafeteria where they sit down and are fortunate to share free meals, but with doors left open to welcome fresh air, but also welcome our unwanted fiesta guests, pests, and rodents. In my meetings with the principal, the list of concerns continuously grow, and so does the number of break-ins. This school year alone, the school has now suffered 10 break-ins. The water blaster and paint gun has been stolen, along with 25 gallons of paint used to beautify the school to make them feel as welcoming as possible for our children, to get them excited to learn. The alarm system has not been maintained, and the school is in need of cameras and/or a security system to deter and prevent theft. Our children should not be going through this. The faculty should not be going through this. It's demoralizing to walk into a classroom that has been vandalized with countless hours of hours wasted to clean up. They deserve better. Not only do our children deserve a conducive learning environment, but so does the staff. The school serves as an incubator to 574 students, tended to by 77 amazing staff members. Governor, Lieutenant Governor, senators, as public servants, please prioritize funding to support the schools. Support the 27,000 plus students, which is 15% of the island's total population, students currently enrolled in the public school system. We can no longer put off years of deferred and capital maintenance needed to ensure that they are equipped to change the world, because they are our future. Inadequate infrastructure, lack of basic essentials such as toilet paper and hand soap. Why are these issues we face today? And can we honestly ask ourselves, when they act out of line, why should they care if they feel that our government doesn't care for them? Why should these burdens fall on our children, on the school's faculty, on the parents? It's heartbreaking to sit here and hear the same concerns, and we can only do so much. If we want our children to grow, give them better soil. If GDOE's mission is to prepare all students for life, promote excellence, and provide support, where is the integrity of these words for our children to believe that they do have the support? It would be excellent to get the funding, and we need your support to allocate funds to the schools for repairs. I know the administrators constantly voice their concerns and follow up for repairs, but for some odd reason, Weddingale continues to get pushed back and brushed off. Alphabetically, our school is last on the list, but it should not mean that our children should be last. Megay Sizu Ismaasi.
Thank you, ma'am. It's not just Weddingale that's getting pushed to the back of the list, right? I'll just tell you, not just at this hearing today, but everywhere I go, it's the same song and dance from the public schools. They just feel let down by GDOE leadership. And I know that you had implored and asked the governor and lieutenant governor to assist with this, but the governor was just here the other night. She gave her State of the Island address, and she clearly said that it's the legislature's responsibility to take care of the education system. I don't agree. I think it's an all-hands-on-deck issue. I think the governor has a lot of authority to intervene and to help save our schools. But if she's not going to do it, we're not going to stop moving forward. So you have our commitment as a body here at the legislature to do the things that we have to do, which include hearing from all the stakeholders, no matter how uncomfortable or ugly the truth is. So I appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, and we're going to move on, and then we're going to take some questions from the colleagues that we have assembled here. Who is next? Want to John Kim Paul for it? Let's go ladies first. Oh, let's go, yes, ma'am. You're right in front of me.
Yes.
Yes, please,
Happy
please
day.
state your name and everything. Thank you.
Happy Honorable Senators Joanne Brown, Taluk Taitigui, Sabina Perez, Chris Malafunction, Barnett, Frank Blosh Jr., and former Speaker San Agustin. That was your dad. So I don't know if I'm the only teacher here on this table as well, but I come as a parent. I'm a mom of 7, believe it or not. All my kids are all products of public school, and I am a product of public school as well. I've been teaching for 23 years in GDOE, and I do have kids that still attend schools here on Guam. So I come as the PTO president for BP Carbolito Elementary School. I also have my vice president here, Miss Patty. We're just trying to find room for her where she could sit with, yeah.
Miss Patty, did you want to come? Let's bring your seat. You sure? Were you shy? Not at all. Okay, thank you, ma'am. If you want to come up, feel free. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm also a parent of George Washington High School. She's here with me. And also Untalan Middle School. I have an 8th grader. And so I'm going to give my testimony based on what I see from the outside as a parent, but also what I see from the inside, but not necessarily dwell on the issues because it's the same song and dance. This is not new. All the problems you're hearing is not new, right? I think it's been going on for like 100 years. Okay, but for the most part, 200 years, but for the most part, right, I want to look at it like, let's offer some suggestions. Let's offer some ways that we can try to solve some of the issues, okay? I do agree with everybody here that said, you know, our students shouldn't go to school, you know, in conditions like this, right? I mean, I shouldn't have to come to work, you know? Working for GDOE, I've never had a new desk. Okay, and sometimes I get rust stains on my shirt, so you try not to, you know, get too close to your, but you know, we make the best of everything, right? I think public school teachers and students are one of the most resourceful people on this island, right? Call us hoarders, pack rat, whatever we can take, we get, right? We use. But specifically at Carbolito, I'm not too sure if you've guys ever been around the area. Carbolito, we're right there, the village road, but around pickup time, you'll notice that there's no way where for the parents to wait on the side of the road, you know, and so once the buses leave, buses always have the priority, they leave first, the walkers, the buses, and then the parents come in, right? So you have cars that are not parents who are stuck in that line, right, the pickup line. And although we're not supposed to impede, right, traffic, there's no other way for us to go. I mean, we can either land on somebody else's driveway or like the other PTO president here says when it's rainy season, you don't want to get into that grass area because you will get stuck. And I've seen cars get stuck. Another issue is you have very bold and daring drivers that they will, you know, be impatient waiting in line, and I don't blame them because they're trying to get out to Route 8, right, onto the main Route 8 highway. And so they would go on the oncoming lane, the bus is coming through, you have other cars that won't give way, they have right of way. And so, you know, what are some ways that we can address, like pickup areas at many of our schools? Untalan is one of them. The kid that, right, unfortunately got hit, I was in the car waiting for my kid to cross, and we saw it happen, you know? And so, again, it always takes something to happen before something is done, right? And so, Untalan and of course GW, I'm gonna tell you at GW, the gym, okay? Our students, my daughter here who's an athlete, right? They're homeless. There's no home gym. We haven't had it for, this is I think going on 2-3 school years. As a parent, lucky for me, right, I get off, right, when high school gets off, but I can imagine parents who work up to 5 o'clock, how do they transport their kids, right, from school to whatever gym would like to house us, right, and be able to have to go back to work again and come back to pick up their kid, right? I'm fortunate to be able to have that luxury of taking her there, but, you know, we're at the mercy of whoever wants us to use their gym, you know, and so we need our gym. Yes, we have, and I've heard a lot of the talk. I've been following you guys for 3 years now, okay? All your public hearings, all your roundtable meetings, all your sessions, and you know, it's a lot of it has to do with funding, okay? And I know it's there. It's downtown GDOE. That's the problem. Everybody's pointing fingers. Everybody's pointing fingers, right? Everybody, not everybody, but I would like to say that we can do this time and time again, right? But if we keep going in circles, nothing's going to happen. Our kids are going to graduate not having a gym. Our kids are going to, they're not going to experience the true meaning of what it's like to go to school with a clean bathroom, with running water, right, and all the sinks. And so some of the suggestions that I would like, to make is lucky kids, right? I mean, we're lucky if we see the cleaners on campus. So when we see them, like for me, I go to them and like beg them, can you please take out my trash? Sometimes we give them bottled water. Maybe if we're a little bit nicer to them, right? They're going to help us back, right? But I know it shouldn't be that way. Can we explore having GDOE custodians again? Because I think the issue is that with lucky kids, they don't report directly to the principals. They report to whoever their boss is, right? So our principals can tell them, so-and-so didn't show up today, right? But I think there's a disconnect there, right? Because lucky kids is not held responsible, right? Or our administrators cannot hold them accountable. It's their boss, whoever he or she is, right? Why don't we explore having GDOE custodians again? That way, they're on site, and if a light bulb needs to be changed, or a certain sink needs to be fixed, they're there, and they have to answer, right, to the principal. So that's one suggestion. Forget the private contractors, because it's minimum work for maximum pay. And what we're seeing too, I think the contract ended about, 2 months ago, or some of the contracts are ending. And what these workers are doing is they'll quit or they won't show up to work, right? Because they know that they're going to leave there and go to the next vendor that GDOE picks, right? They want to get hired there. They want to apply there. And so sometimes it's like we have no lucky kid employee because nobody showed up to the schools, and they're calling down, their boss, and nobody showed up today. What could we do? Also, there's an inadequate, I think the amount of school aides that we have in our schools is not enough for the populations that we have in our schools. And I think that if more funding was given to hire more school personnel, and I know the budget, right, and the salaries of teachers and everybody else is a priority, right? But I think that if we hire more school personnel, right, we can alleviate some of the safety concerns. Another thing that I do know as a teacher is a lot of these contracts are negotiated downtown. So my suggestion, right, would be get the school administrators, get the students. We know what we need specifically at our school, but I think when these contracts are negotiated, right, it's by the district, and so like what our school needs may not necessarily be what her school needs, right? And so if these contracts are either reviewed or we're able to give input as a parent or even as a school administrator before contracts are signed, then I think that could also, help to alleviate some of the issues that we're having at each of our schools. And ultimately, school administrators are held responsible, but I think they have no control, right? It's like what they're given, but yet everybody puts the blame on principals.
It's funny that you say that, because when we talk to the principals, they point the finger at GDOE Central. And when we talk to GDOE Central, they're more than eager to throw the principals under the bus. So which do you think it is?
Well, while looking in, right? I mean, you give me the resources in the classroom, I'm going to do what I can. And so I think it's the same thing with school administrators, right? They're given these resources without any input for the most part. But I think that school administrators, I've seen it at Carbolito Elementary School, I've seen it at Untalan, and of course at GW, but you know, the thing is that yes, student learning, student safety is a priority, no matter what, you know, and I think everybody at the school level, you know, we try our best to make it happen, right? We try our best with what we have. And so, you know, I've seen the finger pointing, I've heard the finger pointing, and to me, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who to point my finger to, right? Other than when I think about it, at the end of the day, you know, when we want changes, we want change to happen, right? You want that conducive learning environment. You want that safe environment. You know, no, we shouldn't have D ratings, right? Like at Sanchez. But we need the resources and we need the funding. We need the funding. I mean, other than that, you know, we're expected to be miracle workers all the time. And other suggestions I would have is, you know what? A lot of the school staff are willing to come in on weekends, use their own materials, their own equipment, right? And I don't think they get earn overtime, right? Maybe an incentive too, like you know, our support staff, you know, they are the essential workers, right? They're willing to do the work. I think the only thing they can get is flex time. But maybe we should explore maybe overtime for these staff, right, that are willing to come in. Some of them even bring their families during the weekend. So, and they can do a lot. I mean, you need your doorknob fixed, that they can do it. They bring in their tools. They're willing to do it. But at the same time, right, how are you going to get that doorknob, right? They can easily change the light bulb, right? But I think if we need a light bulb change, we got to put it into Munis, wait for it, you know. But if it's there at the school site, if we had that custodian there, you know, call the custodian. We need a light bulb change in a certain classroom, right? He or she can do that quick fix, and we don't have to wait weeks for a light bulb to be changed. Grass cutting, yeah, we need grass. You know what, at GW, I think they cut the grass when it's Relay for Life. And thankfully, Senator Barnett, can I tell you, from like 6 in the morning all the way to like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, he just kept going on with his bush cutter. He didn't want to be bothered, but we had this happy Labor Day with a lot of our alumni and our volunteers, and that was successful. Right, and so grass cutting is an issue at I think all the schools, and not just grass cutting, but even like trimming of the trees, you know, like along the fence line and stuff, because those things impede, right, you know, vision, right, in and out of the schools. I'm almost done.
Take your time, ma'am.
My question as a parent and as a teacher, okay, Lord forbid an active shooter or mass shooting ever happen, how are we hardening the schools to protect, you know, everybody on that campus? I mean, I look at how we can easily come into the schools and, right, we can come in all different directions, right? We don't have intercoms at GW or at Carbolito. I think an intercom system, right, would work, would help. I think the intercoms at GW are since the 70s. It's an old brown box. I have one in the classroom. Yeah, it looks like one of those 70s stereo, right? But I think some of those things could help us in like major disasters. But what are we doing? Yeah, I know there's active shooter training, but that's about it, right? Are we going to wait for something like this to happen? how safe, right, are our schools, and how can we protect everybody there on campus. GW's gym, please. This is too sad. I mean, I haven't been in that gym for already 2 years. Do I miss the gym? Do I miss smelling like GW's gym? Yes, I do. And I'll say that. Okay, I don't know if you've ever been to GW gym and you walk out, you gotta wash your hair like 5 times. Right? But I miss our gym and our kids. I actually asked the students today at school, you know, I'm doing this roundtable, you know, what are some things, right, that you want me to let our lawmakers know? And the biggest thing was miss our gym. Right? So there is a need, there is a want, and I hope they get it soon. Other than that, you know, the same issues happening with all the other schools that I've heard, and you know, I hope some of these suggestions, you know, maybe we could explore, but other, you know, we make do with what we have. And I still think that the public schools here on Guam are still one of the great places to send your kids to school.
Even with all the challenges.
Even with all the challenges.
Right. Let me ask you, what do we do, ma'am? Because the governor said that's legislature's responsibility.
I heard it, yes.
Right? We heard testimony here, and right here in this room, from the Department of Public Health Social Services. They said if we were to conduct inspections like the senators want us to, most,
I can give
if
input,
not all,
yeah,
schools would be shut down. So what do we do? Because, you know, obviously, in order to bring these schools into compliance, to bring our schools to a state where students aren't going to class in conditions that pose imminent health and safety risks, we're going to have to shut something down.
So for me as a teacher, right, shutting down schools is very disruptive, right? And so I heard the public hearing or the roundtable with Thomas Nadeau, and for him, I guess it's the staffing shortage, right? They don't have enough manpower to go and inspect, right? And so I kind of thought about it, played around with it, and, you know, it's like treating schools the same way they would treat restaurants, right? And if you have that D rating, you know, shut them down, right? And shutting down schools, though, is very disruptive, right? Kids panic, why do I have to stay home, you know? And so, yes, hold us accountable, right? The same way you hold private businesses or private restaurants accountable. But I think the checklist that public health uses to rate these outside, you know, restaurants or, you know, other places, I think it needs to be realistic for GDOE, right? And I'll give some examples, okay? I have Sensi in my classroom, right? Sensi makes the classroom smell good. I don't know if you've ever been in a classroom after PE or lunch, right? But if public health were to come into my classroom and I had a Sensi warmer going, that's a demerit. And so, you know, hold us accountable, but make our checklist for our schools, right, realistic for us. You know, and not hold us the same way that you're going to hold a restaurant, because I think it's two different environments.
I agree, and I don't know necessarily if you know, with the staff shortages at public health, if we need them to go out and inspect the schools. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? You know what a dangerous situation is.
Well,
and
another
to expand on your point, ma'am, if you don't mind, there are also demerits given if you look at some of these inspection reports for the schools. If they don't have the right kind of light bulb, that's a demerit. If the window's too dark, that's a demerit. If the restroom door is not, you know, a certain amount of inches above the floor, then that's a demerit.
Bare boards, I know, is one. Also, our trash cans, if you don't have a lid on your trash can, that's a demerit.
Right.
So for us, if we were to be inspected the same way, right, these other places get inspected by public health. And then realistically speaking, right, how often how often could public health do this? Because, it's a nice thing to do. I mean, but maybe it's good at the start, but how long is it going to last? But I think, our checklist again, make it conducive, make it realistic for us. And let's not shut down schools.
Thank you, ma'am. I mean, I got to say, there's those demerits that are kind of ridiculous. Then there's also demerits like asbestos in the classroom, ceilings falling down around the kids' heads, rodents, fleas, cockroaches, right? So I don't want to explain away some of these things because I think it's clear that there's major issues with health and safety right in the schools. Thank you. Are you done?
Yes, and I'm open for questions if anybody should have.
Thank you. Who's next? I would also like to recognize Speaker Therese Terlai. Sir?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. Oh. Is it on? Yes. All right. Yeah, thank you. I'm Chris Rasmussen. This is Marquisha Camacho and Ronald Zuzu. We're from the Price Elementary PTO in Manila. And so we came to speak on behalf of the teachers and parents. We are all impressed by the work that the teachers and the staff do at Price, especially considering the kind of circumstances that we've heard today exist at many other schools, public schools in Guam. They are unpleasant and unhygienic and in many cases dangerous. And this just shouldn't be. We did an inspection with the principal of Price not too long ago, and it was shocking. I heard some of this from my daughter, but a lot of it doesn't sink in. The yards were flooded, impassable. Restrooms were unavailable or simply poorly maintained with sinks missing, the soap and tissue paper as well. The water is a big issue. It pools in the walkways. Oftentimes it comes off of the canopies onto the walkways and creates puddles. Kids fall down, so do teachers. That there haven't been more accidents at Price is, to me, surprising. Air conditioners in the library, the cafeteria, the teacher's lounge in many classrooms don't function. The library day is my daughter's favorite day, but the room is stiflingly hot and has been for, I don't know how long, at least all of this year. Since last year, yeah. And, what we've heard, I think it kind of sounds like a broken record because, I had thought this was more unique to our situation. It certainly is not.
It's all malfunction, sir.
So, our principal staff make repeated attempts to try and get very simple issues addressed. And I agree that in-house custodial service seems like the most obvious solution to so many of these problems, which are not massive. They aren't big fixes. And to have someone there who could go and do that small thing would make a huge difference for 700 students at Price. And that's another thing. We have 700 students at Price. The cafeteria can accommodate 100. That unair-conditioned cafeteria at Price. And the longer these things go postponed, the worse things get. And then it's not something a custodian can fix. It is a big capital improvement or project, and that's, a huge waste of money. So, again, the teachers at Price are just fantastic. I know my daughter loves being a lanchero, and I think it was Marissa who mentioned as this goes on, though, people become aware that the places that they're in aren't pleasant, aren't nice, and they start to wonder what that means, and it's a sad kind of realization. So I'm gonna turn things over to Marquisha or Ron.
Ma'am, if you don't mind, state your name and title for the record.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marquisha Camacho. I am the PTO Vice President at Price Elementary School. So as Chris mentioned, these are issues that we see throughout most of the schools in GDOE. And like he said, I thought this was just our school, but it seems to be a pattern throughout all the public schools here on Guam. For me, my biggest concern is there is a lot that we can do, but at the same time, why do we have to do it? I mean, in regards to like maintenance repairs, like for example, our stage area where the kids perform, it is leaking through the roof. There's electrical issues that the minute it rains, they can't have things plugged in because what's gonna happen is that they're gonna get electrocuted, and it doesn't work when it comes to students' performances. So this is something that GDOE can fix, but it's left up to the PTO to do it. So we were the ones who went in, we're looking to repair the roof, we painted the stage, we raised money for the equipment, but all of this costs money. These are things that we do in our spare time to raise funds in order to fix the issues in the school. It's kind of disheartening a little bit, thinking about like the amount of issues that we have. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, ma'am. You know, hearing from these PTOs, it almost seems to me like it might work better if we just gave you guys the $130 million in ARP funds and let you guys fix the schools. Because doodle and jive, plenty runaround from the GDOE officials, and it's clear district-wide, we can't even cut the damn grass. Like, really? Can't even cut the grass? Can't even put soap in a bathroom? Can't even put toilet paper in a bathroom? And GDOE's coming here to this public hearing room and saying, oh, just trust us?
It's hard.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, you're next. Just identify yourself for the record. Hey.
My name is Mr. Ronald A. Azuzu. Thank you, Senator Chris Barnett, and the senators for inviting us to be here to be heard. We are very vocal in Price Elementary School. We are always on top of the administrator, asking him all types of issues, from teachers, classroom, grounds, playgrounds. And I like to tell my VP and my secretary here and my other, this is the first time that they joined the PTO. So, you know, I'm letting him know that you have to go out there, be vocal, and we're the voice of our school. We have a lot of issues, like everybody said. The only thing is funding is the problem. You know, we heard the governor's state of address and all that stuff, but you guys called for the roundtable discussion. I hope you can help everybody, all the schools, because our schools, our restrooms are really not working. I had to go call the maintenance, Mr. Tovis, because our bathroom was leaking like almost a week. Water was coming out. I called him up. I said, what is going on? I asked the principal how long you submit your request for repair. They told me it's procurement. We're waiting for procurement to give them the green light. I said, how long is the procurement the DOE is going to give you an answer? Sir, let me give you a call back. That weekend, the same week, Waterworks came, turned off the main valve of Route 10, and Price Elementary, they had a contractor dig the ground, put a valve, on and off valve for Price to turn it off. So that is fixed because I called. And I said, I'm here to help the administrator because they've been calling, and no answer. So I think this is what we do is PTO, get maintenance number and call them and be strong and call them and say, how long is this request we went in? How long is procurement at DOE? Because this is the way to call. Because if I can call, everybody can call. Because we are the voice of the school. We're there to help the administrators and the teachers. You know, the legislature will do everything they can, you know, to help us, because we're not the only issues we have in the whole government of Guam. We have a lot, right? So, but DO is really crying for help right now because all our facilities is down.
Our lights are not working, our outlet is down, our breakers are too old at Price Elementary, our ceilings are dropping, our back door to the cafeteria is now covered with plywood because everything's cracking. That was just recently in January when they barricade that thing. And then our janitor service, they didn't come to Price for 3 days to clean our classrooms. It's ridiculous because they didn't get paid. That's the question. They didn't get paid, that's why they didn't show up. So I think we should get our own janitor service, hire DOE's custodian, clean the school. Because I think that's faster because they only send one person to clean the school, clean the classroom. Sometimes I go there and I see them up to 6 p.m. I say, how many of you guys? Only one. It's so sad, it's sad. You know, that it's only one person who will clean the school and they can't finish the whole entire classroom. Our new awning toward the mayor's office, they repaired it on Christmas break, but the problem is they forgot to put the gutter to face the water, the rainwater to go down to the drain. It's going into the classroom. So I said, Mr. W., what happened here? They repaired everything, but they forgot to put a gutter. And now, when it rains, it goes into the classroom. So it doesn't make sense to repair, but they didn't put it with the proper area where to drain. So that's one thing. The other is the backside with the drop-off. They always request for a dump truck to bring gravel. We don't have a pavement, no concrete for the drop-off. So every time it rains so hard, the employees has to go there, get the shovel, cover the pothole. And right now, it's a big pothole right now because we've been having rain season. So right now, they can't put that on because if they put it on, cover it again, it's going to be the same thing. I said, request for pavement. That's the only way. But it's been there for how many years? And then our classroom on the backside toward the fourth grader, when it rains hard, it's flooded. The rain goes in. They have a drainage, but the problem, it's not enough because it sleeps there and it smells. So the student walks on the walkway with water this much. So the Department of Education really needs help. If you have our fund and it's for repair, I think senators, we need your help. Because this is way overdue already. Our cafeteria, also the breakers is old. I just was informed on our PTO meeting that every time they plug with the fan, one thing can't work. They can't turn off the light. So if they unplug the fan, the light goes on. So, aircon is not working in the cafeteria. Just imagine the students eating in the daytime and it's hot. Because even us, when we have hey, how come the aircon's not on? It's broken. So majority of the classroom aircon is down. So I think, and Price is a very old school, very old school. So I said that, we're going to go down to the legislature and air concern and, continue what we're doing at the school, help the teachers. We even bought a new water blaster and a new blower because I want to make sure that they can water blast the whole way. We're trying our best to help DOE because it's a funding problem. Then we bought a new refrigerator. We bought a new microwave for our teachers' lounge because the microwave broke. They can't get any microwave because budget problem. We try to help the teachers so they can put their food in for lunch. So that's done. Anything we can help that we can manage to contribute, we'll do. Yeah, like the stage that we paint, we cost like almost $600. Yeah. So these are the things that if we have the money, we can do it. But the thing is, our playgrounds also. One leg is missing already, it's old already. Our students are not using it because it's more than 30 years old. Yeah, so I don't know what else we hear all the concerns, and I hope the senators, you guys can help us and help the school, the whole entire school. Because even my child goes to Agara Middle School, and I see things leaking. You can see between the ceiling all the water drips. So my grandkids all go there, all 5 of them. That's why I'm still there, because I want to, make sure that they have a voice there. So, and we help the administrators. So we are on top of it. I said, if you have any concern, let us know. We can push it down downtown and keep pushing it until they keep hearing us. We're not trying to make you look bad, but we're helping you. So this is the only way, and I think it worked. Because they sent me a video on the water splashing out. Right away, I called maintenance. I said, who is the manager? I want to find out if this information or document went through your guys' office, how long? Right away, they gave me the information, and they took care of it. I said, I want to hear an answer. If not, I'll go downtown and talk to the superintendent. But they took care of it before you reached the superintendent. So, I guess they say, got to do it because Mr. Zuzu's calling, So, we just need help. We need help. We're here. The PTO will be there to help. But, we can't help. We don't have enough budget to help the entire school, but we're willing to help. And we're willing to repair the stage Bullerton, but we're looking how much it will cost for us to raise that money to repair it. Because we got to get that repaired before the graduation of 5th graders. So I told my PTOs, I said, we got to do that before the end of the year. So, Senator, we are doing our job, and we're doing as a volunteer because we love what we're doing, because of all our kids that are attending, my grandkids. My son is going to Agada, and I want to be still active within the DOE, and, we're all here to do the same thing. The problem is we don't have anybody to, after school, to direct traffic at Price Elementary. Because like they say, they speed. Like, hello, we have a crosswalk, slow down. But, sometimes the drivers are rushing. They want to be in one place, but not knowing safety is not there. So all these things is a lot of issues. But thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come out.
Thank you for coming out, Mr. Azuzu. It's just us, PTOs, legislature, mayors. We can do it. I'm hopeful, but thank you. And what I see here with the PTOs, it reminds me of the neighborhood watches. Over the years, as our government has really failed in many ways to provide a basic standard. In the situation of the schools, you have the parent-teacher organizations stepping up, doing the heavy lifting because no one's answering the phone downtown. I mean, they answer it for you, but for some of these others, odds any off at, right? And then look at these neighborhood watches. You're the same thing. No staffing shortages. You cannot GPD, yada yada yada. So you got I went to a neighborhood watch meeting last night, and it's the same kind of concerns. You got the people of Guam saying they're the policeman. PTO, you're GDOE. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony, sir. Ma'am?
Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to voice our concerns. And so my name is Isel Paulino. I'm from Estumbo Middle School. I am a teacher, I'm a parent, and the PTO president. And so today, actually, I want to start off with some things that are positive with our school. Our school is one of the newest schools here in Guam, along with, of course, I have a student also at Okudu High School, my 8th grader at Estumbo Middle School. And so, one of the things before even coming here is asking our students, what are your concerns? What are some of the things that you notice that is a concern with our maintenance and facilities? And for the most part, the students were quiet. Like, everything is in good running condition. We have the restrooms running. There are toilet seats that need to be fixed. And I think the other concern was that, they're not happy with the pullovers, they're not allowed to wear. And that was about it. And I was like, okay. And so, so I'm just happy really today to report that as far as major issues with our schools, we're just thankful that we don't have those same issues like with the other older schools. And so it's, right now, our school is under lease for 20 years. So that means we have another 5 years. And our main concern really is when that 5 year is up, that, our condition will worsen. And so we do have some issues as far as, some of the work requests not being met on time. But I think for the most part, we are okay. We have the bell system that's not working it's been 3 years. We were able to actually bring up the PA system, which is a big deal, because we had to pick and choose either the PA system or the bell system. So we chose the PA system, again, because we felt that was for safety issues. And so, but the bell system, we don't have that up and running. And the other concern, let me just check my list here. As far as the upkeep and the maintenance of our facilities, again, there are some chronic leaks. They're just patch-up work. We have the exterior painting, and so according to our landlord, that we're not scheduled yet for painting to be done, although there's mold. And we do think that it should be painted. And also we have our support staff, our teachers that are, we've bought paint, to paint a little bit inside our classrooms. And we just feel like our landlord and GDOE must be held accountable to get the job done. We're there to assist as what, PTO. We're there to help. And so we're just thankful again that you're able to allow us to voice our concerns. The other one that I know it was in one of the points in academics. I'm not sure if that hasn't been addressed, but is that something?
You're going to be the first one to talk about academics.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, of course, that is, as an educator, that is a concern personally for me and also for my children. Our world of work is changing in sense that, of course, technology is changing so fast. Guam has the human resources and talents to prepare us for the future. Our education system has to adapt the current and future needs of the labor market. We need to provide more hands-on learning experiences that are relevant to our students that will help develop their skills and prepare them for a career or higher education. Technical and practical skills should be taught in the earlier grade levels as well as not just in high school level. Aside from the traditional classroom, we would like to see career academies that can more closely resemble the real-world work environment as far as collaboration is concerned, teamwork, project, work-based learning activities. It would also allow for great community and parent involvement. And so really looking into our education system, and our students are really changing. And so they're always looking at, ways, or in this case, how they relate their learning experience with the real world. Is it relevant to them? So we need to look into also our worker shortage in the different industries such as science, healthcare, engineering. These are the types of jobs that we need to prepare them for. We're also looking into expanding our industries in the agriculture, information technology, telecommunications, even in video games, music, and theater that could be marketed to neighboring countries to bring in investors and improve our tourism industry and benefit Guam. So, for example, I attended actually in December, the Career Technical Educators, a conference. And so one of the things that was fascinating, they had the Music and Performing Arts Academy. And throughout the year, they work and set up production within the students involved in the process of planning, integrating core subjects in the activities, creating sets, operating audio recording systems, music equipment,
rehearsing, producing, filming, and finally presenting a show to the community, at the same time receiving college credits and working towards achieving industry credentials in technical music production such as the Avid Pro Tools certification or the Dante certification recognized nationally. And so these are some of the things that we really need to look at as far as preparing our students. Are we really truly preparing them so that when they graduate, they have the technical skills? So at Estumo Middle School, so this is one of the concerns as well. We have brand new musical instruments and textbooks that have never been used. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Since 2008. Oh, we're not, that's a thing. We are not allowed, these are assets that cannot be moved. And so we really do not understand why we're not able to bring in, a music program at our school. I know there were issues about that, and we've tried to bring in a music teacher, band teacher, but for some reason it hasn't happened. We need to properly allocate our resources, in this case, find value in the music literacy and performing arts, and give our talented students the opportunity to develop their musical and artistic abilities. And so that's at Estumo Middle School. We have the classroom. It's beautiful. We have the risers, but they're not utilized. We've tried to do glee club, music club, but it's not enough. Yeah, so safety issues. Regarding safety, of course, we need preventive measures and plans in place. And one of the main concerns at our school is the accessibility of the tobacco products and vaping among our very young students. Studies have shown that our middle school students' user rate is almost the same as the high school students. Unfortunately, we know that the source comes from the students' own families and peers, not outside influences. We need to increase awareness in the effects of drugs, alcohol, and heavily promote a drug-free, healthy, and positive lifestyle. Parents and families must also be accountable. And in order for our students to maintain a healthy lifestyle and learn to cope with stress and pressures of life, we need to provide social, emotional support and teach the 8 dimensions of wellness that includes emotional, physical, occupational, intellectual, financial, social, environmental, and spiritual parts that are interconnected and one dimension building on another. And so that's really taking more of that holistic approach to ensure that our students are receiving, they're safe and they're learning and they're happy and, they're taken care of. And I do have one more, if it's okay. This is from a parent, if I may. This is coming from a parent, Robert Paulino, parent from Estumo Middle School and Okudu High School as well. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony on the ongoing concern of our public school system. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today, by Malcolm X. It is my hope that this meeting will be a step forward in working towards real change and real solutions to our education system and experience here in Guam. Kicking the can down the road and masking the problem have been proven in the definition of insanity. If we want different, then we must do different. Perhaps our approach should be to imagine an educational system that produces bright minds in mathematics, English, language arts, cultural arts, music, technology, robotics, sports, and more, and accept nothing less than an environment that fosters that achievement. Our island is filled with many educational and talented people, yet we are not able to wrap our arms around the education system. In President John F. Kennedy's quote, "We choose to go to the moon," he spoke the following, "in this decade and do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard." Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept. One we are unwilling to postpone, and therefore we are set sail. We ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure that man has ever gone. Let us then take our educational system to the moon, not because it is easy, because it is hard. Let it be our goal to organize and measure the best of our talents and skills, one that we are willing to accept and unwilling to postpone. Regarding facilities and maintenance, this is more at a district level. The facilities of our schools need a holistic approach for real solutions. It is the role of GDOE to provide a clean and safe environment. It is also shared responsibility of the students and faculty to help maintain this environment. In countries like Japan, students take the time in the day to clean the classrooms and school areas to demonstrate a sense of ownership and modeling for the respect and care for the facilities. It is everyone's responsibility. We need to lead the next generation to appreciate what they have. As a suggestion, GDOE can establish 3 school maintenance divisions, scaled in size to handle the respective schools in their areas, the north, the south, and the central. They should have their own lawn cutting equipment and supplies. These teams need to be supported by a mechanic shop, each to perform preventive maintenance and repair equipment. Perhaps invest in an electric vehicle and equipment to lessen our overall cost and environmental impact. It is my opinion that this approach will best be operated as a government-private partnership to be successful. Why? Because often there is a lack of accountability. In addition, we need to have a panel of political leaders, administrators, parents, and students, or an independent third party to conduct monthly audits of these facilities to provide direct feedback to the Board of Education and to the Legislative Oversight Chair. In regards to academics, let us start with some sobering facts that in our education, according to the University of Guam entrances exam, students from all spectrums of education, public and private, the average scores are only 3% proficient in English, 2% in math. That translates to each of our graduating seniors only attaining those scores as a result of 12 years of education. This is alarming. We cannot disguise these facts by changing from SATs to the ACT-Aspire testing and say that our children would score better. The facts that they have not. Our education system feeds in our government and private sector jobs. We get what we put in, the 3% and the 2%. Consider Singapore. They have invested in their education system and are global leaders in many tech innovations, healthcare, and other industries. Guam can do the same if we invest where it counts. In academics, we need to simplify the learning process and not have teachers and students adapting to methodologies outside of our environment that are not relevant. We can use an approach that better assess the needs of our community and provide a curriculum that responds and adapts. For example, many of our youth graduate without attaining a driver's license, and this becomes a barrier for most just to find employment. A simple driver's license allows students to be employed as a driver for any of the growing industries searching for that skill level. Driver's education used to be offered at GDOE back in the 80s. This simple course offering would easily provide our students with a hand up in the job market and fill shortage in the labor market. These courses can evolve to include specialized driving licenses for chauffeurs, multi-passengers, tractors, and heavy equipment operators. For me, I grew up in a generation that when you needed repairs at home, you didn't call a contractor. You would call your uncle who was a plumber or an uncle who was an electrician or carpenter or mechanic. These skills were passed down in the sons and daughters as their apprentices. So let us consider an approach that incorporates early curriculum or internships into the with the Guam Trades Academy and the Guam Community College, or host them right in our schools. This needs to be a progressive approach, even beginning from primary, middle, and then high school. These days, we cannot afford not to, especially with the growing demand for skilled labor. Remember, there was a time when GDOE had to recruit teachers from off-island to meet our teacher shortage. To solve that problem, we created a robust program to include scholarships for teachers and graduated more and more teachers to fill our schools. The same for nursing and now for engineering. Let us move in the same direction, but only sooner. In regards to the arts, why do we limit access and promotion of the music, theater, and performing arts? And as far as I know, as a teacher, my kids have gone through Pinagayan Elementary School. We don't have a consistent music curriculum from kindergarten to 12th grade. We need to properly fund and promote our children's talents and give them a stage in our educational system to do so. Let us consider creating a superintendent of the arts to put together greater commitment to this goal. A music theater, performing arts program should be implemented in every grade level and every school. As far as safety, safety is paramount in our education. DOE takes on the critical role of providing a safe environment to its students and faculty. On a bigger front, we need to address the issues plaguing our island: drugs, vandalism, and social disconnects in our culture. We need more educational awareness against drugs and other issues to include interventions with DPHSS and other nonprofits for their support. We need to run campaigns that teach children to be on alert for all kinds of danger. We need to put confidence in the safety of our children. We need to perform through background checks on safe staff directly in contact with children. We must invest in a security camera system for all the facilities. We cannot afford any more disruptions in learning due to break-ins, theft, violence, and other damages to all our already fragile school systems. In regards to social economics, we need to offer equal access for children to participate in school activities or sports. Many times, only the children who have access to money and transportation will participate, while alienating the other children who are not privileged. We need to provide consistent funding and reliable public transportation to give our children the opportunity to discover their talents and break the social impacts of the haves and have-nots. Our schools reflect the diversity in our community. Sports can help build teamwork, strategy, pride, inclusion, and cooperation, all elements we need in the adult version. So let's teach them while they are young. Parental involvement is a big contributor to the success of a child's development. By executive order, former Governor Felix Camacho allowed government employees the opportunity for up to 2 hours of leave for parental involvement. Why should we not go further to include the private sector employees and allow for them as well to take that opportunity to take the 2-hour leave for their children? Now imagine if the private sector employees were granted the same opportunity. How many children would we inspire for greatness? If it comes down to productivity, loss of income, losses, then provide businesses with a tax incentive for allowing their employees to participate or allow them to make up for lost time. And finally, in regards to funding, we can continue to do the usual and seek grant funding for many programs. However, if we are really to tackle the major issues, let's seek major funding and perhaps an education bond. It will be an investment for a generation. Let us examine how we can use the military build-up's tax incentive to fund our education build-up. We need to set our goals to the moon. Now is the time for us to make a real difference in education. Let us no longer prolong the solutions for a brighter future. Ni tena maulik I escuela. Thank you. This is from Robert Paulino. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your thoughtful and well-written testimony. If you don't mind, could you send me that?
Yes.
Thank you.
It
Appreciate
was
it.
emailed to you.
Yeah, and I just want to say that I have gotten some comments about 3.5 months or so into the term, and people have asked me, what are we going to do about academics? And we talk about learning disruption. I think one of the biggest disruptions to learning our students are facing are going to school in conditions that are posing eminent health and safety hazards. I don't think that we can expect our kids, and there are so many bright spots, let me just say that, but by and large, if we're sending our kids to schools and facilities that are literally falling down around their ears, that are infested with rats, fleas, cockroaches, mold, how well can we expect them to do? So my intent is to really go hard this year and address these facilities and maintenance issues, and hopefully, God willing, with the support of my colleagues, put in a funding source that addresses facilities and maintenance issues so that not only do we kind of come correct with a lot of the existing facilities, but we also anticipate these lease-to-own facilities, which are, a lot of them are, the clock's running out, and we're going to inherit these things. And I mean, I know they're asking us to trust GDOE, but the track record's not really all that. So I think we have to show our students that we believe in them. And I'll tell you, man, kids can do amazing things when they know that people believe in them. And so that's my intent, is to really just tackle these facilities maintenance issues, provide an environment where our kids can go to school and just really in a place where the basic health and safety guidelines are meant. Again, I keep saying this, nothing fancy, just the basics. I think if we do that across the district, school to school, and we set the table for our kids, and then they can eat and they can be successful. And we just have to show them that commitment that, you know, from the top down, whether you think it's your responsibility or not, that we're all involved, and it is really all hands on deck. And so I thank you so much for your testimony. Academics, it's definitely on our radar, but I just think that we need to really show our kids that, hey, man, we want you to do well in school. We're going to send you to schools that are in good shape. So thank you so much, Estelle, for your testimony. I know that colleagues who had questions. I want to start with Minority Leader, Senator Frank Blas Jr. Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. Biba Betnes.
Biba Betnes. And thank you very much for all of you for being here. And thank you for, while a lot of it may sound, I guess, redundant, if you will, I don't see it as redundant because you all represent different schools with very unique problems. It may sound like they're all the same, but I think they're very unique. And what I appreciate about this conversation is this is the nuts and bolts of education. This is what's truly happening in the schools. You know, these are truly the concerns that when we sit here or up there, we're told everything is hunky-dory, okay? We're told that we don't need any more help. We're able to manage this. We've got everything under control, and then we hear this. One question that I do have with regard to any one of you, who, as far as your observation, or your experience in this is, I'm sure that you've all had the experience of going to your administrator or even going downtown to Central and asking for, can I have a light bulb? Okay, or can I have, some paper? But have you ever had the experience that you come to school and you're finding pallets, cases of things that you didn't want but are told to utilize? Have you ever had that experience? Something they come with what I call snail fans.
What I have a lot in the classroom right now, and I guess it was through with COVID, but I have a lot of hand sanitizers. I have a lot of gloves, latex gloves. And I have the hospital gowns, like in the event that, we need to. But other than like pallets of supplies that are just sitting, I have not experienced, those kinds of issues at my school. And then at this, maybe I'm not privy to what the other schools have, right, as a parent, but I'm sure that at the school level, it's there. They're going to pass it out. They're going to give it out to the kids. And I know that we did at the high school level, even as well as at Carbolito, but they were even given hygiene products, right? Full-size shampoos, deodorants, toothbrush, toothpaste, a loofah scrub, and some. But from what I know, Senator, if it's there and it needs to be pushed out, they're going to push it out at the schools. But there is a lack of paper towels. I do not have paper towels. I mean, my students still sanitize the desk, with the 70% rubbing alcohol, in the spray guns. But now I don't have paper towels. I don't know who gives us paper. Is it Lucky Supply that's supposed to give us paper towels, or is it downtown? So, to compensate, we bring our own paper towels. But, I'm still going to have the kids wipe down their desk and their chairs. But, paper towel is gold, in the school system. So if you're willing to donate paper towels, that'll be nice too.
And the reason I'm asking is because I've heard and I've been told that, while we've requested for reams of paper or crayons, things the kids need, sometimes what comes to them are things that aren't necessary. I know schools, like you said, you've got books that have been unused, okay? And musical, and I can understand why they're musical instruments when you can't even hire a music teacher for that, okay? But, what I'm hearing here is obviously a disconnect in as far as what the priorities are. And in some cases, the priorities and what downtown feels is necessary for the schools and what the schools find was what necessary to operate. Okay, there's that disconnect. There shouldn't be any reason why, you don't have, you don't have the paper towels that you need. But yet we've ordered 5 40-foot containers worth of snail fans, You don't have a snail fan? Okay. It's one of those blue fans that's on the floor. They put it, so they haven't distributed. They will, because they got. It's supposed to be for all the schools. Did you get your? Mm-hmm. That's part of the things that I'm getting at. It's. Turn on your mic. Okay.
To me, they're useless the way they're designed. And so if you go now into the classrooms, you'll see that they're parked in the corner, unplugged and unused. There was one put in a gym in Okadu. The gym is huge. Ceilings are, 30 feet, and you've got one little fan that sits at the side of the main entrance door, just sucking in dirt from the outside and then distributing it. So, I don't know where that money came from for those things, and the fans too, like you were talking about. I think they could have went to air conditioning units to either help get parts to repair them or replace them.
Yeah. And so what I see here is, like I said, is a disconnect between what is necessary, what is needed in the schools, and what somebody in DOE Central says, okay, we need to get this out to the schools, okay? Well, I know this just for a matter of, I guess as a disclaimer, I'm married to a teacher, okay? And so trust me, I hear this every night before I'm allowed to go to bed, okay? And I'm glad because it validates this. And the greatest validation is coming from this hearing right here, from listening to all of you, okay? So I'd like to thank you for that, and I'm going to continue to listen and take it back and go back home tonight and say, yeah, hon, you're right, okay? But it's not to say that I never trusted in what she was saying, okay? Thank you for because I'm a husband, Yeah, okay, she's very legit, right? Make sure you tell Carla that so that I don't get in trouble, okay? But thank you very much. I'll continue to listen, okay? Thank you, okay? And I live right behind you, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah. Sure, sure.
4 per school, the bigger the school is, add 2 more to. I agree with her with the how do you say it? In-house custodian slash maintenance. If it's something that needs to be, if something needs to be fixed that requires more specialty, then that's when we go look for contract.
Oh yeah, I know, because every weekend when I have to go to Home Depot, I have to buy, the supplies for the house and the cleaning supplies for the classroom. So,
29 years ago when I was in elementary, I didn't see a dirty bathroom. We always had toilet tissue. We always had paper towel. I don't understand why is it when it goes into a contract, we don't see these things. So can you guys let GDOE know that we need to have our...
they're watching.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Acting Superintendent Erica Cruz told me that she was going to be taking notes. So,
Okay.
yes. And even
So that's a big one.
Yes, the maintenance manager, Mr. Tovas, as well.
So the bigger the school is, add 2 more people. Get a commercialized riding mower, and 2 days out of the week, you can have 2 custodians or maintenance workers go around, cut the grass inside the school campus, outside the school campus, and there, ta-da, our problems are kind of almost solved.
It's a no-brainer, right? I mean, my mom's brother is one of the last remaining custodians at the school level. And he
We
has
lost a lot of good ones.
And he has his routine, and that's why it works, is you have people specifically dedicated to performing maintenance and custodian tasks at the school. They come to work, they do this, they do that, they have their routine, and you maintain it. Not that, you have a leaking sink today turning into a busted water valve, 6 months down the road because we never addressed it. So.
It's the same exact thing as the cafeteria. A lot of kids do not eat their lunch because, man, in my day, the food had more taste. Now it's diet food. It's like going to GMH and having a diabetic menu or... I know you guys agree with me.
Yeah,
on
no,
that.
because Auntie used to work in the cafeteria, and now it's a private. You talk about these, it's Sodexo, and it's profit. Right, yes. Thank you, ma'am. Senator Blusterton, thank you. Senator Joanne Brown, good afternoon. Good evening.
Gosh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't even know where to begin. I certainly appreciate everyone here that, all of you coming forth and really relaying your experience, your frustration, your dedication that you've put up in wanting to ensure that your children and other children in our community get a quality education. I'm at the point, because I've been at this a long time, and I've heard these stories year after year. I mean, I first came to legislature in 1995, so... And Ronald, you and I used to walk the halls and sit in the session hall in 1984 together. And I spent 9 years in public school on Guam. Most of my education is here. And you're right, I didn't see the problems. I went to Price Elementary School. Except for 1 year when they redistricted us up to MU Lujan, the first year it was built and was a brand new school. Then they took us back to Price, and I went to Barragata Junior High. And I didn't see this. I had very positive feelings of, I was a public school kid. I wanted to stay up until I spent a few days at GW before the teacher's strike, and then I asked my parents to please put me in private school. That's music, your 14-year-old daughter's calling you up saying, please put me in an all-girl private school. I really think the time has come because the stories are old, and I've said the same thing to DOE management. It's a broken record. I don't even want to hear it anymore because it's the same perennial problems, if not even getting worse over the years. I really think we need to break the system down. I don't think we should keep a big central operation. And the suggestion, it's come up before, of dividing up the districts and having, direct engagement within each of these districts so that each of our schools can get the attention they need. Because right now I hear the principals are saying, well, nobody's listening to us. You got DOE measure, your principal's supposed to do it, and everyone's pointing fingers, but the solutions are not getting there. I put my child in private school because there are other aspects of my child's education that I wanted to see that I wasn't going to get in a public school. But as a parent at the beginning of every single school year and halfway through, I get a long list of supplies on top of paying tuition. And I gladly do it because it's a smaller school. I know the kids are going to get the supplies that they need for basic sanitation, crayons, I even, dry erase chalk for the teachers to draw on the board. At least I know that, my child's going to get that education. I just think you keep telling us we're not providing the funding, you're not providing the funding, and we have almost tripled the budget of the Department of Education since I first started. We are pouring more money in the system. The Department of Education gets more money than any other operation in this government. And we're not seeing the outcomes that we would like to see. And when you see very basic things that should be addressed not being addressed, there's something wrong with the system. If we have contracts and the contractors are not following up, it means somebody's not following up to make sure the contractors are delivering. If they're not delivering, we should be paying them. And I'll tell you, if you want us to take over the school system, any school here, I don't think any of us would be idle to allow the problems that we're seeing, the perennial problems that we're seeing getting worse, continue. And I'm not a school principal, but I've done some major operations in this government, and I know it can be done. So when we see it repeatedly not getting done, it's very frustrating, and I just don't think that the solution is we keep pouring more money without holding the school system accountable, or we redesign the structure, and I don't know what your thoughts are. I'd like to get your feedback. Maybe we just restructure Department of Education and break it down. I think it's too big to be effective. And if that can be done, because who does the system exist for? We all say it exists for the children. But last year when the pay raise, I'm thinking against pay raises, God, we're all getting crucified about pay raises. But when money that was federal money that was intended to do the repairs in the schools was decided by the administration of the school system and the governor's office that they were going to use that money to fund pay raises, irrelevant of our existence, because they didn't come and ask us, they come up to us after the fact, and use that money for pay raises and not address the physical infrastructure needs that are coming back to continue to haunt us today. When we see stuff like that, you got to wonder where the priorities are. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Because I would very much support breaking the system down and restructuring it and changing it, because it's not where is the money going? I've been to GSA where brand new books that, the nice thick books that I know cost $80, $90, $100 were never ever used because the wrong books were ordered. Who the heck gets held responsible for that? I've been on the roof of Simon Sanchez on my weekends because the school administration there could not manage following up their contract to make sure the roof was properly repaired. I mean, we've water blasted, we've done all the things that even the current leadership is asking us to come and help out to do, and it doesn't change. So if the solution, well, give us more money, senators, give us more money, but I think we need to break the system down and really find out how the money's being spent, and maybe we need to prioritize so that we're not in the same situation every year of really unsafe circumstances and the inability to get anybody to respond. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do we need to restructure and break down and change the system?
Mr. Rasmussen?
Thanks, and thank you, Senator Brown. My daughter wants to stay a public school student. My wife teaches at a private school, and so she has that opportunity to go when she finishes the 5th grade, but she doesn't want to. And I think that's really something that's good, and I hope, not everyone has the opportunities we do, and they're going to stay in these schools. Right? What I've heard, I've learned so much being here, is that the system works so much better not too long ago. So I don't know if breaking things is necessary. But looking at the past, when simpler things like maintenance were taken care of and were prioritized, going back, and I'm a historian, so I like looking back at the past. This would be maybe a more appropriate way to address the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If I may, from what I've heard, and I think, that's something we can also check into, The procurement is, of course, that's where, so I've heard the bottleneck is. We maybe need to identify if it's a personal thing, if we need to add more help in that department for GDOE.
My point is, where does the buck stop? Because we're being asked, I mean, we're policymakers. But I'm sure if any, like I said, any of us could go in and go into any existing school right now and probably address these issues or get them addressed. And I'm not saying hypothetical. I really think, because as you know, some of us have had experience running operations in the government. And I've always made sure, you know, the operation walks out better than when I first started. Because that's my mission for the time that I'm there. And I'm appalled, because if I were to walk into that school every day and see these circumstances and it's still the same at the end of the day and I'm not doing anything, I would be bothered by it. I would be bothered by it. I don't think I could go home and sleep well and come back the following day and see the same problem and do nothing about it. So who's responsible at the end of the day? Because I can't do it as a policymaker. We'd have to go in and actually physically take over the school system, and that's not really our role. But, you know, to a certain degree, it seems like that's what we're having to do. So I wanted your thoughts on that, because I don't see it changing, my dear people. Even if we keep we're going to throw more money, I bet a year or two, we're still going to hear the same story. And the money being maybe misspent on stuff that's unnecessary because so-and-so contractor got a deal, but yet it's not functional. And if we think that, oh, we're just going to break down every school every 30 or 40 years and rebuild it, and that's the solution, and we're going to hire a private company to come in and do the maintenance, realistically, we're already at our debt ceiling. Who's going to pay for all of this? And yet we have facilities that, you know, if they're maintained, including this building that's 76 years old, you know, you can have a good outcome. When I see children in the private school who are getting educated for far less per capita per child than in the public school system, I'm very concerned about that, because that doesn't make sense to me. My child will get, you know, the cost of my child's education be far less than a single public school child's education. What I will pay in 10 years will be maybe 2 years in public school. And yet the outcome, I bet, will be very different in terms of the ability of my child to be well prepared for his future. And that doesn't make sense to me. So when we say it's just money, I think there's a lot more to this onion than simply the money issue. And who's accountable? I mean, we've had a superintendent has excellent, the last one had excellent evaluations. And we all thought, hey, it must all be good now, you know. So we just have to do something differently, because I just can't see pouring more money into something that's not functional, because the people of Guam don't have that luxury. There's so many other things, including public safety and healthcare and a lot of other things on the list that our people want to have. And the money pool, as is our personal finances, we only got so much, you know, we got to prioritize. So what can we do, in your thoughts, to make it more effective, so that, you know, you guys are actually getting a response and seeing, you know, seeing things being addressed within the schools for your kids?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to come down to what you were saying about accountability, but like on all levels, from you know, DOE maintenance all the way up to the superintendent or whoever sits on top there. To our contractors as well, how you were saying, you know, somebody needs to be checking on the work that gets done. We kind of have the same issue at our school with the landscaping, you know. They come there. I saw one guy cutting grass at like 6:30 in the evening, and I'm like, you can't even see the grass. You know, so what are you doing over here? And then when he's done, you come and see the next day when the light's out, and you know, it's what you would expect. It wasn't done properly. Sometimes we got to call the mayor out to cut on the outside of the fence because they only cut on the inside, and you know, grass on both sides, so you still can't see through the fence. So we have to hold everybody accountable if we're paying money for them, you know, even if they're just DOE employees, contractors.
Thank you, sir. We're going to have to take a short recess just for a few minutes to reset the audio. And thank you again, everyone who has come out for the testimony. I know that some of my colleagues still have a few more questions, so if you could stick around just for a minute. It's only going to take a second to reset, ma'am. Our battery's about to run out, so I really got to take just a short recess. We'll be back with more of this PTO GDOE stakeholder roundtable hearing next.